Oh, it's so, Dylan Bowser. Tonight, we're doing it. We're doing it. The beard's being shaved off, okay? We're entering a new world, okay? Here, do I even need these headphones? I'll take them off later, right? But yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, my community members have decided to pay me to shave my beard. And I will be doing so throughout the stream, okay? We'll go through it. I'm putting it off just a little here because oh my goodness, I'm gonna miss it. It'll grow back though. But yeah, I will be becoming smooth-cheeked Wick. You all get a live seat performance. Wick is gonna lead this stream looking 17. I've had this beard for so many years. I'm not sure how I look underneath anymore. Like, I've obviously shaved before, right? I haven't always been wonderful beard guy. But yeah, I am curious. I hope it isn't too disconcerting to my viewers. But hey, if we're gonna bleed subs, we might as well go out in a blaze of glory, right? I know that's for a portion of you at least. One of the reasons you watch me is my glorious, beautiful beard. But unfortunately, it is going the way of the dodo. Sad. Very, very sad. But before we get to that, Zephyr Hash, nice to see you, by the way. Zephyr Hash says, I did not expect this to be the type of tease Wick would put up to announce an OnlyFans. It's not an OnlyFans, unfortunately. But, not yet anyway. But no, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. I got some thoughts on the election as well to give to you guys. I've been poring over the exit polls, okay? I've been looking at the data. I've been going through the a lot of the kind of analysis, looking at specific states and kind of just trying to get a better idea of what happened and talk about that. And I want to talk about my thoughts on this, but I also, as we go, right, want to discuss some of the reactions that I've seen. And I think that some of the reactions have been, what's the word for this? How can I put this kindly? Just retarded. I won't lie. Just retarded. A lot of the analysis has no basic has little basis in actual fact, right? I had a discussion today with some people who, one, didn't even live in America, okay, trying to tell me how Republicans thought and how Democrats thought. Two, right? They just were convinced, despite all evidence, that inflation and inflation only was the reason that this election went the way it did. And while inflation absolutely and undeniably played a large portion of why this went the way it did, remember, kids, a 2% flip in the vote in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan means we are looking at President-elect Harris. Like, that's how close this was in some areas. 2%. 2%. Do you know how much Harris lost the Jewish vote by? Like, or how many voters? So, well, let me put it this way. In 2020, Biden got 69% of the Jewish vote. In 2024, Harris got 66%. She went down. But these dummies are like, look, she did fine with the Jews. More Jews voted for her than did Trump. True, but that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the comparative. How did they do compared to last time by a percentage? We're not even talking raw numbers here, right? Because obviously 2020 was higher turnout, higher raw numbers. We're looking at percentage-wise, right? And while, yes, the data is not granular enough that I have seen to show why there was that 3% switch, to act as if there was like it was just inevitable and it was just because of inflation. There's no data to support that. There's no data to support that claim. There's none. New York had a huge shift to the right. New Jersey, huge shift to the right. Obviously, Pennsylvania had a pretty big shift to the right. Not huge, but decent, right? And again, the Jewish population is very small. It did not account for most of that shift, I will grant you. But it is a portion. Here's the thing, when you start looking at the data here, it becomes clear that there's no real one reason. Inflation was a huge thing. Absolutely, yes. But to pretend it was the only thing is going to cost us elections. We have to look at why people voted how they did. We have I'm using the Fox News exit polls, honestly, but there you can go to the ABC exit polls. There's a few other sources. Or I'm sorry, the NBC ones, the Associated Press ones. Fox News is just easier for me to navigate. So I might be showing you some of this as the night goes on. We'll get to the beard stuff, don't worry. In fact, let me take you through, okay? Let me take you through. Because a lot of people were like, okay, one of my takes here, let me get this up on screen for you guys. Okay, one of my takes here is that one of the failures of Harris's campaign was her failure to denounce the extremists on the left. And a lot of people pushed back at me saying, well, no one thought she was too extreme, or that didn't really matter in this election, or no, it was just inflation. That had nothing to do with it. Well, let's look at the exit polls and let's see what the exit polls say. So these are the people, right? When they were asked, do you think Harris, the candidates' views are too extreme, regardless of who you support? When it comes to Harris, most of the electorate, the total of the electorate, 42% was very concerned, 13% was somewhat concerned. That's 55% for those of you math wizards following along, a majority, right? Think that we're at least somewhat concerned that Kamala Harris had extreme views. She didn't really do anything to combat this. When Trump painted her as soft on crime, she refused to hit back about being tough on crime. She was just saying, well, I was a prosecutor. Fair enough, but he's saying that you were a soft on crime prosecutor. You needed to give examples of where you would be tough on crime, but she wouldn't do that because she was scared to alienate some of what she thought was her base. The people who, again, it's clear through the exit polls, didn't show up to the vote, right? They were never going to. The Mike PAs of the world. They were never going to show up to the vote, right? So again, we got to live in reality. We can't just make shit up in our heads. We got to look at the data. We got to collate that data. We got to look at it holistically, right? And if you have an electorate where a majority, 55%, have concerns about whether or not you are too extreme, and then the majority of those break for Trump, that's a problem. You didn't address it. We can talk about why, right? But her absolute refusal to go against the extremes of the party, to have, as Bill Maher called it, and as many called it, a sister soldier moment, absolutely played a role. Again, you could say that that wasn't the main reason people voted, and fair enough, but it was a reason. And I remind you, if we have a 2% switch, just a 2% switch in 3 states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, then we are looking at a President-elect Harris. You have to play the margin. You have to, right? Every vote counts. You have to look at it like that. And again, in retrospect, it's looking like she did not do enough to allay people's concerns about her extremism, right? People would point to the Trump campaign pointed to her positions in 2019 and in the 2020 primaries, and she didn't combat that. She didn't push back against that. Not effectively. Before I get to the face shaving, and I know we want to, let me also, dear viewers, Let me also read to you from a centrist, someone who didn't, to be clear, vote for Trump, but I think that this, anecdotal though it might be, right? Anecdotal though it might be. Thank you for the sub, Principles Before Politics. Really appreciate you. I think this encapsulates a lot of people who were on the center. A lot of, and to be clear, right? People look at me like, "Oh, you're a centrist, Wick." No, this is part of the problem. If you think I'm a centrist and you think that Kamala appealed to people like me, and you're pointing to her appeal to people like me and saying, "Look, she appealed to centrists," I'm ignoring you. I'm not a centrist. I've never been a centrist. There was no way Trump was getting my vote outside of like sci-fi scenarios, right? She didn't need to appeal to me. Let's read this. Let's go through it. Let's get some thoughts. And again, I know the shaving's coming, gang. Here, I'll give you a little taste. A little taste of what's to come. Oh yeah. Oh, let me get my little trash can here so I can properly store. Okay. Oh yeah. A little taste of what's to come, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I don't want to leave you too hanging, okay? We'll get to it as we go, right? We'll get to it as we go. Okay, let's read this and let's see what he has to say. It may be too early for an election retrospective. It's still election night and technically things haven't been called, but it's a good time to speak candidly. There's not a single moment this election that I felt heard or represented by Kamala Harris. Not one. But people, and especially leftists, will say, "You're a centrist. She ran to the center, did she not? Spoke of unity, focused on fundamentals, stayed disciplined." And I confess she did, but let's consider the nature of that running to the center. Well-oiled, precisely tuned gears of the machine, turning and calculating that to win the vote they needed to present as normal. Not that they were ever wrong, not that any of their priorities were mistaken, that they had ever seriously overstepped, that they needed any serious re-examination, just that they needed to slow walk things, to be calm, to rely on running against Trump and repeating platitudes to waltz into the presidency. What will you do differently from Joe Biden? A bold answer from Kamala. I'm not him, and I'm not Trump. Great. What are we to make of your positions during the 2020 primary? Well, it's not 2019 anymore, is it? Did you ever, even once, go too far? A laugh and a charming slice of life quip. The Democrats tried to run an election on vibes alone. Kamala is brat. Kamala is normal. Kamala is all things to all people. Kamala is with the good guys and against the bad guys, with the good things and against the bad things. And shouldn't that be enough? Look, I've been adamantly against Trump from the day he entered the national scene. I've never wavered on that. But I spend my time and my energy writing, shouting, begging someone to listen that people do not trust the machine, and they do not trust it for good reason. Young, educated professionals are far to the left of the average American, and they're the ones in control of every institution. Institutions systematically represent their views, treating them as natural and everything else as aberrant. I'm on the fringes of that group. Right wing by young, educated professional standards, dead center by the standards of the country. And it's frustrating, alienating on a deep level to go to law school and watch prison abolitionists and Hamas supporters and people who want to tear gifted education down, treated as sane and normal and respectable, while knowing that if I don't voice perspectives sympathetic to the majority of the country, nobody will voice them at all. Kamala Harris never represented me. The Democrats never signaled to me that they heard and understood my voice and voices like mine, only that they wanted to pull the right levers and press the right buttons and twist the right knobs to convince that mystical creature, the centrists, that they were on their side. I don't know what will happen under what looks to be 4 more years of Trump. I don't think it will be as dire as the worst predictions and hope it won't be, but I remain now, as ever, wholly convinced that he is temperamentally unfit to be president of the country, and this country is more volatile and uncertain place with him in charge. But what I hope is this. The Democrats don't take this moment to lament to themselves how everyone fell victim to misinformation and imagined grievances, that they were fine and good and the people were the problem. That their problem is they were simply not pure left enough. Now is the time for recognition that they fundamentally, wholly failed to understand and reach the frustrated center. They have 4 years to get serious about doing so. I would say 2. Kamala appealed to the center in a way a leftist, liberal, young person thought that a centrist would accept. Her pitch to the center was the leftist version of a pitch to the center. The leftist idea of what a pitch to the center looks like. Whose essay was that? This was from Tracing Woodgrains. He does some work with what's they're called? The Blocked and Reported podcast and a few others, right? Pretty good guy, pretty thoughtful, professional guy. Centrist. He is a centrist in a way that I am not, right? But can we just acknowledge that when people are saying that, but she appealed to the center, she did not do so effectively. Her appeals fell short. Can we at least acknowledge that the center did not believe her? I think that's clear, right? I think that's very clear when you look at the results of the election. So we have to ask ourselves, right? Why? Why didn't those appeals work? And if I'm going to figure out why centrists didn't feel heard by Kamala's campaign, I'm not going to ask a leftist. Why would I? Why would I ever do that? Why would I ever ask a leftist? Well, why do you think that the centrists didn't accept Kamala's pitches? Why is it that you think that, right, Mr. Leftist or Mrs. Leftist? Or they, them leftist? I don't know. They don't understand. They think I'm center. They don't know what a centrist even is. And how are you going to appeal to the center when you fundamentally misunderstand what a centrist is and who the center is? You can't. You are fundamentally incapable of identifying a centrist, let alone appealing to them. Right? Look, Origin of Logos, we're starting with the big stuff, okay? And we're working our way down. And I'm dragging this out for your viewing pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So again, when we look at these exit polls, and we'll look at them again, when you have a majority of the country, or at least the voting country, 55%, who think at least they're somewhat concerned that Harris is too extreme, this represents, again, a fundamental failure to address these concerns. Because if this was even 2% different, okay, if this was even 2% less, I'll use 3%, give it a little cushion, right? If that 55% was not 55%, but was instead 52%, she wins. She wins Pennsylvania, she wins Michigan, she wins Wisconsin. That's enough, baby. That's enough. She's president-elect. But she didn't. She failed to. Because she listened to people who don't know what they're talking about. Who have never met a centrist, to be clear. They call them a Nazi, and they think that, like, oh, those aren't centrists. Those are just far-right, misinformed crazies. No. One of the things, or one of the reasons that Bill Clinton was very successful in his tenure, okay, was very successful politically. And when I mean successful, I mean he won. And he won bigly, okay? One of the things he did was he positioned himself against the extremes of his party. He positioned himself against the far left, against those. And he didn't just ignore them. And that was Kamala's strategy. She thought, if I just ignore them, they'll go away. No, you can't do that. That's not enough. You have to confront them. Bill Clinton did that. Famously, and I know I've talked about this before, but I'll talk about this again. Famously, with his sister soldier moment. Okay? With his sister soldier moment, when he decided to publicly, and this is in front of their audience too. Like, so he went to what's his name? Here, I'll get the thing up and I'll just read it to you. He went to, where is it? To the Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Coalition. Okay, that's who he was speaking to when he said this. Okay, Jesse Jackson. You guys know who Jesse Jackson was? Pretty famous black activist in the 90s. Pretty left of center. Okay. So he went into the lion's den, so to speak. And he publicly, loudly, and in no certain terms, condemned Sister Souljah, who was, again, written some things at the time. This is one thing that says, I'll be more specific for you, right? Because I think you guys need specifics here. So, in 1992, after the Los Angeles riots, in the Washington Post, they interviewed a political activist named Sister Souljah, and this was a quote. Okay, the question was this. Even the people themselves who were perpetrating that violence, did they think that was wise? Was that a wise, reasoned reaction? Souljah says this. Yes, it was wise. I mean, if black people kill black people every day, why not have a week and kill white people? White people, this government, and the mayor were all well aware of the fact black people are dying every day in Los Angeles under gang violence. So if you're a gang member and you would normally be killing somebody, why not kill a white person? Do you think that somebody who thinks that white people are better or above and beyond dying when they would kill their own kind? That was a quote. Bill Clinton, again, in front of Jesse Jackson at his Rainbow Coalition, called that shit out. He said this, if you took the words white and black and you reversed them, you might think David Duke was giving that speech. Called her David Duke, basically. A little more politically correct, right? Okay, fair enough. I want you, ladies and gentlemen, okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want you to go on a hypothetical journey with me. A hypothetical journey with me into the land of make-believe and maybes, what could have been, what might have been. Okay. Imagine a world for me for a second. Okay. Wick's in charge of Kamala's campaign, and they actually listen to Wick. Okay. He's the guy making these decisions. He's the one deciding, right, what she should do. Okay. This is my advice I would give to her. Go on Hassan's podcast. Go on Hassan's podcast. It's got millions of views, right? Millions of viewers. It would get millions of views. I want you to go on Hassan. I want you to sit down with him. And here's what you need to do if you want to win this election. Call him an anti-Semite. Call him anti-American. Make fun of him. Castigate him. Tell him to fuck off. That he's not part of our coalition, will never be part of our coalition. that we have nothing to do with him and want nothing to do with him. 538 electoral vote landslide, you're welcome. You're welcome. What that does is it gives centrists who have concerns about her buddying up with extremists in her own ranks, it gives them a permission structure to see, look, she's willing to publicly take on her extremists, her party's extremists. That's what a leader does. You guys are like saying, ha ha ha, you don't know what you're talking about. Look, I know what I'm talking about. This would work. It worked before. It worked with Clinton. It'll work again. Again, this is what the data suggests she should have done. We looked at it. We can look at more. This is what the data suggests. I don't understand, right? Why are you fighting me against this? Like, we just looked at it. She would have outperformed her margins now. Look, the 538 vote, that's a little bit of a meme. I'll give you that. But she couldn't have done worse. Look, Hassan's a good target because Hassan's not voting for her anyway. Like, she's not losing anyone. She loses nothing. None of them voted for her. Not a one. She loses nothing. Like, this is such an easy decision. This is such an easy decision. Honestly, people need to just start listening to me. Okay? Oh. I know you guys aren't going to hate this, but my favorite color is petty. Okay? So we're going to go through it. It's my favorite color, and I'm wearing it today, boys and girls. Oh, man. I want you to go on a real journey with me, not a hypothetical land. I want you guys to listen to this press conference here a little bit. Okay?
A lot of criticism in the last couple of days directly addressed at President Biden for some of the questions that have already been asked. Running in the first place or not stepping aside faster. Some of that criticism has also been directed at his team and the advisors around him for advising him to do what he did. Can you address that criticism?
To do what he did, meaning?
Running again, not stepping aside faster, and showing what some people say, quoting folks here, an arrogance of believing he was the only one who could beat Donald Trump.
I mean, you said something at the end that I do want to just kind of reiterate and remind folks, and it was a good reminder to me, which is like, look, this is the president who has been the only person has been able to beat Donald Trump. I mean, that is true. In 2020, he was able to do that. There were more than 20 candidates who tried to beat him, and
dropping bombs,
he was the one that has
baby.
been able to do that. I talked about what happened in the midterms, how it was historic.
What she's doing right now is she's treating all those calls for Biden to drop out, all those podcasters who called for Biden to drop out. She's Israel, they're Gaza, and she's bombing the shit out of them right now. That's just true. That's just true. A lot of people are very mad at her for this. The chutzpah of these stupid podcasters. The ones, who said, oh, Harris will definitely win. We got to get rid of Biden. Harris is going to outperform Biden. Harris would be super good. Harris would be the choice of the people. Can we just acknowledge that those people were stupid and wrong? Like, wrong in a way that was, like, fundamental. So the chutzpah of people to talk about arrogance when they were dead wrong. Oh my God. Look, my favorite color is petty, and we're wearing it today, boys and girls. We're wearing it today. I don't know if Biden could have won. I don't. But I know that a lot of the criticisms against Harris had more teeth because the working class, right? The Biden voters, they saw what, again, the podcasters did to Biden and just forced him out and appointed someone. And we're like, nah, I'm sitting this one out. So again, if you were one of the early adopters, I'll give some grace. You know, to the bandwagoners. I'll give a little bit, okay? If you were one of the early adopters of we should ignore the will of the primary voter and just sideline Biden and push him out, I'm never listening to you again, and I'm laughing you out of any room you come into, okay? Like, if you think I will ever listen to you again, you are... Oh my goodness gracious me. I'm just saying, like, woof! Imagine being so wrong and then having the chutzpah to call Biden's team arrogant. Biden's team had it right. Biden's team was a better play. And I think in hindsight, we should all be able to recognize that. Fate says someone dropped the bans to shave the beard. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Okay, so this is gonna be a little loud, but we were at this stage, so forgive me. You can probably want to turn down the sound just a little bit. Okay. And I know some of you will say, "Well, no, you're wrong. Biden would have lost by more." There's no evidence to suggest that. I mean, even in, and I'm trying to find this to make sure that I'm not misremembering, because I might be. But if you guys remember the internal poll that was sent around, right? The screenshots of it, the leaks of it, that was used as evidence to, oh, Biden's not going to win, we should push him out. If I'm not mistaken, and I don't think I am, but I'm trying to find it exactly, just to be clear, right? But go with me for a minute. The projected, with those polls, which again were kind of iffy, right, is an internal poll. With those polls, Biden got 233 electoral votes. That was the projected electoral votes total he was going to get. How did Harris do? What's that number here? Oh, is that more than 233? Is that equal to 233? Well, what's this number? Look, you math wizards in chat gotta help me out. I'm pretty. Sometimes I'm not very math brain. That's true, but I just don't know which number is bigger. Okay, so even by that metric, Harris was the worst choice. I don't know what to tell you. Teddy's my favorite color. Okay. I said this. I predicted this. I told you. Who are you going to listen to? The guys who were wrong or the guy who was right? Look, I didn't get it 100% right. I had some predictions that were wrong. That's true. But the difference between me and others is when I get it wrong, I'll be like, oh man, I messed up here. I was wrong. And tell you what, if Harris had won, I'd eat crow. I'd be like, yeah, no, it turns out you guys were right. I was wrong. I misread this. Oh, man, yeah, it turns out she was able to win it. And Biden probably wouldn't have, or may not have, right? He may have, but Harris was a wise choice, wise decision, safe decision. Oh, man. In the words of Destiny, people need to pay a price for being wrong. That's all I'm saying. You can't just keep listening to the people who are consistently wrong, right? You just can't. You have to change it up just a little bit. Shoeboot says, I really don't think Biden would have done better. More TV exposure in the last 6 months would have made him plummet. I don't think that's true at all. Compare this to Harris's TV exposure, okay? The more exposure she had on TV, the worse she did. It get to the point where she refused to do podcasts. She refused to do Joe Rogan when she absolutely should have, right? This was just a failure. This is just we can't dress it up. This is just a failure. The working class has lost trust in the Democratic Party. And one of the reasons that they have lost trust in the Democratic Party is because they do shit like that they did with Biden. They ignore their votes and they appoint who they think will win, regardless of what the Democratic voter thinks. They're tired of it. Why would you vote for that? Why? David. We're getting it now, boys. I may have to take off my glasses here. And don't worry, it's not over my keyboard, gang. It's not over my keyboard. It's over the trash can. I got like this. I got a whole setup. Okay, I got a whole setup where there's like a plastic cover and stuff. Catch some of this hair, right? But can I just say I forgot how good I look without a beard too, or with a shorter beard? Can I just say how I forgot how sexy I am as a person? Okay, I forgot. I'm being reminded. Trim it up a little. In retrospect, I may not have wanted to wear the hoodie. I may have wanted to be shirtless, but no, too late now. I'll just do the laundry after. That's all. We're gonna pause here for a second, just so I can talk more. Right? I want to drag it out. Okay. This looks a little. Hold on. No, I'm gonna get the other half of my mustache before I stop. Okay. Can you guys hear me? It's not perfect yet. I need to get patches. It's a little patchy right now. Beardless Wick. Yeah? What do you guys think? You guys like it? Which do you like better, bearded or beardless? You hate it? Oh no. Look, $500, I'll shave my beard every time, right? Surprisingly cute. Well, thank you, PvP. Thank you. Tessie Johnson says it's like you were trying to look old before. Like people, I need to, like I said, I need to trim, get some of these patches out. But as it comes, okay, look, back to the matter at hand about how Wick was right about everything, okay? Not everything, but a good portion. We need to recognize that while, yes, the economy played a large, and I don't mean to undersell it. It was the most important thing was the economy, right? The most important thing was the economy. But to act like that was the only thing? That there was nothing else we could have done different? That there was nothing else that we could have done different? I just reject that. I reject that wholesale. I obviously think we can make adjustments. And we're going to need to make adjustments. If we want to win in 26, if we want to win in 28, which we do, we gotta figure out why it is that people just don't trust Democrats. They just don't. Okay, yeah, if you're enjoying this stream, hit the like button and feel free. Like, I'm losing viewers as the beard goes away, okay? I'm going to bleed subscriptions here. I know it, right? Oh, also, according to the exit polls, at least what voters said, according to some exit polls, the economy wasn't the most important issue that they had. It was democracy. That was 35%. 31% said economy, 35% said democracy. And here, I'll give a shout out to Gelatinous Rube. Here. Because I think he called this one. I think, and see, this is important. You got to acknowledge when you get things wrong. When I initially saw those numbers, right, that democracy was more important than the economy to people who were voting, I thought, oh, that's a great sign for Harris. Turned out not to be. Turned out not to be, okay? Turned out to be a really, really bad sign. Because apparently, right, a lot of those voters went to Trump. And we got to reckon with that, okay? We got to figure out why. Rube called that, actually. So, props to him. $20 or 20 pounds from RPG. Do you think Biden would have done better? Yes, I do. I think that pushing him out opened us up to lines of attack that wouldn't have been open otherwise, honestly. Yeah, I got a little too much chub in the face, to be honest. I need to lose a little weight there. Right? A little too much neck. I need to stick out my chin like this. Yeah. Wick was President Sunday the whole time. Crystal clear with her watch streak of 3 streams with her exclamation points. I know, it's beardless Wick. It's crazy. Now I want to know if Wick had a medical or religious waiver for facial hair while in the Air Force. No. I was clean shaven in the Air Force. Your body, my choice. Oh, thanks for that's one of those memes going around, right? It says demented man with good policies greater than DEI hire with word salad. Like, that's unfortunately, unironically true. People trusted Biden and they didn't trust Harris. And they didn't care if he couldn't string together a sentence. The only people who cared about that were the podcaster class, honestly. The voter was like, no, we trust Biden. We know Biden. He's that guy from Scranton, that Scrappy Joe from Scranton. They knew him. They trusted him. The unions trusted him. The minorities trusted him. The black vote, the Latino vote, he would have outperformed Harris. I'm just saying, like, that's my thought process, right? Wick looks like his pre-2016 self before the country went into chaos. This is what I look like, at least a portion under Trump, right? Didn't Biden do union busting? No, he didn't. Star Troopian says the Republicans set the narrative that Biden was too old and convinced the left. They convinced the podcaster class, at least. And unfortunately, the people who were making decisions, the appointees, the shot callers, I tried my best, gang. Are these people of any specific ethnicity? Yeah, white people, mostly. Do you guys not remember that whole kerfuffle, that whole scuffle in the Democratic Party? The black Democratic voter was behind Biden in a way that was way more than the white Democratic voter. Honkler 303 was driving and saw you live. Immediately called my girlfriend and told her to load up the stream to see the shave, and we both love it. I'm glad you like it. $2 from the Trib One. Oh, hey, what's your name? Wait, where's Wick? We're gonna get that a lot. You're gonna regret that drive. Look, I will probably, but you know what? $500, $500. Could Harris have won? Yes. She made quite a few fumbles, in my opinion. But she didn't. First, Cav Tank says they were behind Biden until that debate with Trump. No, I'm talking about the period after the debate, right? When the drop, when the Harris Suicide Squad decided that they were going to push Biden out come hell or high water, the black voter was 100% behind Biden, right? Like a majority of them, a large majority of them were like, don't do that. Portland is burning says Biden prevented rail workers from striking. Yeah, sure. Manthra says L. Oh, I'm getting $500. How's that an L? Oh, did someone raid me? 119 viewers? Did I get a raid? Did I miss a raid? Hello, viewers. Hi, guys. Hi, gang. Yo, what's up, Parallax? Biden has never lost an election, 3 out of 3. Use aftershave? Look, don't tell me how to shave. I'll do my thing. Skin's tougher than it looks. Ghosty says, nice, it looks good, Wick. I hope. Like I said, I need to lose a little weight, okay? I'll be fine. Look, pain is not a thing that affects me very much. I'm a little numb to pain. Chai Bunny says, we just want you to be the best version of you. Fair enough. Man, I had a spike in viewers and then they all went away. Fair enough. I don't know what's going on. Like a bunch of people jumped in, saw my shave, and then jumped back out. Is that how we do here? Wick, you're running out of things to shave that agree with Tias? Yeah, maybe. The big JC says you look spiffy. Not gonna lie. Well, thank you. Does it take back to the military days? It does, honestly. Look, I remember coming in 6 a.m., right? 30 minutes before my shift was supposed to begin with one of these razors, shaving, right? In the communal sink, right? I remember that. What are people's like do people just have super sensitive skin? Like they're acting like my dry shaving is this crazy thing. Like, look, it's fine. I'll be okay. I always dry shave. I always dry shave. What are you guys talking about? Yeah, I get a little cuts and a little razor burn here and there, but it's not a big deal. Look at this guy. You look great. Thank you, Dunkin' Donuts. Also, ingrown hairs. Look, I just shaved those, right? Shaving is a skill. Get 3 women and Testy on for a skincare panel? Maybe, right? Maybe I need to do that, right? Like, you guys can tell me how to moisturize a little bit. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's weird. It's weird not having a beard, not being able to stroke it and stuff, right? Stroking it on camera. Hell yeah. No, but it is what it is. Scorpions, spelled backwards. I have skill issue and get enough cuts with shaving cream on. Yeah, look, maybe. I should have PV'd harder, to be honest. Look, progressive victory doesn't pay me anymore. But my views aren't going to change. My advocacy isn't going to change, right? Look, I just wish people would have listened to me. I feel like if people had listened to me more, we would have done better. I don't know if we would have won, but we would have done better. And I know that's something that everyone's going to say, right? I know, I get it. But I can point to some calls that I made, right? Or in some warnings that I gave that I think, had they been heeded, would have changed the trajectory of the race. I don't know, it would have been enough. Like I said, I continuously, publicly and privately, called on them to push back against the extremists. They didn't. They failed to do that. They didn't do that. Publicly and privately, I said, hey, Shapiro's the move. Shapiro's the obvious choice. You need to, what are we doing with walls here? We need Shapiro. Didn't listen to me. Should have went with Shapiro, right? We would have won Pennsylvania with Shapiro. That I can guarantee you. That I can guarantee you. Had we had Shapiro on the ticket, Pennsylvania would be blue. Can't speak for Michigan, can't speak for Wisconsin, but Pennsylvania would absolutely be blue. There are a lot of people that I know in Pennsylvania right now, if Shapiro's on that ticket, they're voting for Harris. That would either have A, stayed home, or B, actually did vote Trump. Look, it's no one thing. It's no one thing that went wrong here. It's no one thing that she did wrong here. It's a host of things, a cornucopia of things that went wrong. He did wrong. First Cav Tank says, what's the reason why they didn't pick Shapiro? He's Jewish. You guys have a problem? So there's mixed reports. That is a suspicion by many. But there's also some rumors, and it's just rumors, that suggest that Shapiro turned her down. That Shapiro saw the writing on the wall and was like, I don't want to connect to this. If that's the case, then, I mean, nothing you can do. If he says no, you can't force him, right? But those are just rumors. I don't know how true those are. Does that make sense? Principle before politics, that's a rumor. I haven't seen that substantiated anywhere. But it is a rumor that went around for a while. Look at, am I not handsome, ladies and gentlemen? Am I not? Don't you want to rub your hands over that buttery smooth skin? That buttery smooth skin, okay? Don't you want to hold it, caress it? Okay? You're now wickless? Oh, I'm still wick. The beard was just a costume, okay? What makes me wick is that beating heart that sits in my chest. Okay. Bill Bradley says I'm uncomfortable. Am I awakening feelings in you? Okay. Feelings? Tuna chip? Jesus Christ? What the fuck? Wick, what have you done from Ice Beans? I made $500, baby. That's what I did. You just de-aged 20 years? Yeah. Look, I'm a young looking guy. I'm healthy. Did you make a bet? No. Someone said, hey, I'll pay you $500 if you shave. And this person, I trust them. They paid me for stuff before. So I was like, okay, bet. Let's do it. Okay, time for the President Sunday cosplay. I'll need a voice changer to get my voice deep, right? I didn't run. 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 Flip it. Ship it. Flip it and ship it. Yeah, swap the hoodie for a robe. Get one of those octopus things. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, principles before politics. Is this acceptable? Are we good? Are we set? I'll send you the PayPal deets later, right? Is this acceptable? Did I earn them dollars? Did I make you holler? Look at the Discord DMs. Let me see. Look, I was busy shaving. I wasn't looking at DMs. What's going on? Okay, let me check. Let me see if we got them dollars. Let's see if I'm hollering right now, okay? Give me a second, gang. No, I'm not showing this on screen. Here we go. Nope, we got it, baby. $500 in my bank account. Let's go. Let's do it. Hell yeah, baby. We did it. We did it together. You and me, chat. You and me. $500 more in my bank account. And gang, if you want to help, if you want to add to that total, okay, I'd be more than happy. Send me some super chats, right? Send me some gift subs. Because you didn't just get a show, gang. You didn't just get a shave. You got some high quality analysis from a guy who's pretty correct. Okay? Just pretty correct. Like, can you guys think of a time electorally, right, that I've been incorrect and I haven't acknowledged that I was incorrect and then changed course, right? So, no, we all get it wrong. And look, this is serious time because I think we need to understand as a people, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Who should we trust? $2 from Slongins to another $2 if you shave your head? If you want me to shave my head, you're going to have to add a little more than 2, okay? Maybe a couple zeros on that, and I can do that for you guys as well. But for 2? No. But thank you for the $2 anyway, right? But what was I saying? Oh yes, serious time. There is never anyone who is going to be 100% right in their analysis of things, in their interpretation of things. There just isn't. They're always going to make mistakes, misread things. That happens. Being wrong isn't what's the word? Isn't a death sentence, right? It isn't something you don't trust anyone who's wrong, right? Look at the people who, when they are wrong, do they adjust or do they double down because it would be uncomfortable for them to admit they were wrong? Look at the people who have no troubles adjusting, who have no troubles admitting, hey, no, missed that one. Messed that one up. Slong and Sue says, I would have went $5 for half the head. Thank you for the more $2. $2 Canadian from Fates Head Shave Slosh Fund. Well, thank you for that. Look, if you guys get me 200 in super chats or gift subs or whatever, yeah, we'll do the head thing right now, baby. Okay, we'll do the head thing right now. But you guys got to pony up, and we won't do it unless we hit that number. Okay? So if you throw 50 and no one else throws nothing, you get nothing, right? So just warning. Principles before politics says, wait, did he say 200? I did. Should I check my PayPal? Dylan Bowser with a tier 1 membership doing my part. Thank you, thank you. I don't even know how much my memberships cost. Did I put $5 or something? Chat, get in on this. It's not a high bar to clear. Well, we're looking so far at 4, 6. I'll just say that's 5, right? So we're looking at $11. So we need $189, and the head gets shaved too. Are you balding? A little bit, yes. I'm old. Fates, $5 more where we're sitting at 16 of the 200. Can we do more? Can we? Let's while we wait, okay, because I do want a little more content for you guys today. Let's look at some of the takes people are making. And I want to draw your attention to these because I think it's important. This is a tweet I saw. If you're in Michigan, don't continue to patronize those corner stores, shops, bakeries, and gas stations owners by Arab Americans. They showed you who they are. Gang, if because a voting bloc voted a majority one way, right, and you decided that you're not going to patronize stores that are done by that voting bloc, and that voting bloc is like a race, like, I don't know, Arabs or black people or whites or whatever. There's a word we have for that. Can we guess the word? Does anyone have any idea what word we would use? What word we would use to describe that? If a Trump supporter decided that because a majority of black Americans voted one way, that he was not going to support or patronize any black-owned shops or businesses, what word would we use to describe that? What term? Anyone know? Anyone? Bueller? Racism, boys and girls. Racism. That's the word we would use. Racist. We would call them, and we would, rightly so, racist. So if you are a leftist or someone in the Democratic Party and you are making some statements, let's read some more of these statements, okay? Let me get them up. Oh, we're going to watch that too in a second. If you are making statements like, I know this will sound racist, but Latinos fucking disgust me, or Latino men and their fucking machismo, or fuck Latino men, or bro, Latinos don't give a fuck once they got their documents. Also, they're religious, heavily against abortion and drugs. Or Latinos, or I'm going to fucking laugh at all the Latinos who voted for Trump when he starts mass abortion and separating families. It might be racist. Just a little. Just a smidge. Just a tad. If you, in fact, and I'll go so far as to say this. Okay? I'll go so far as to say this. If you're sitting there and you're trying to pin the blame on a racial group or an ethnic group or a gender for why you won or why you lost, you're a bad person and part of the problem. If your takeaway from this election is any voting group who didn't vote for me is racist, misogynist, and sexist, you are never winning another election again. And I hate it. But so many people are saying things like this, like Todd Alcott here is, right? No one wants to address the obvious, that America is a deeply racist, deeply misogynist, deeply homophobic, deeply hateful nation. That's not helpful. That analysis does nothing. In fact, that analysis makes it less likely you're going to win. If you think that racism and sexism is the reason why people didn't vote for you, right? It's just because they're stupid. They're stupid, racist, misogynists. Stop. Figure out what you can do to appeal to them. And I promise you, it's not racism or misogyny or sexism. Does that play a part? Very, very small. There are some. Right? There's some, but it's not election changing. It absolutely isn't. Shaming won't work. That too. I did see this though, and I want you guys to watch it with me, okay? Because I couldn't help but laugh. Okay, let's watch it together.
Donald Trump won, and I am very, very afraid that he might deport my mother-in-law. She entered illegally to the country, and she lives in Street 4, number 47, apartment D, New York. I am very, very concerned. That's right behind the green apartment. Yeah. I have nothing bad happened to her. The gate is always open. You don't have any dogs either. Street 4, number 47, apartment B.
I don't know. I can't stop laughing at this. This is peak humor.
If you get the photo, how my life would be. Why? Don't.
This is funny, gang. You gotta laugh at this, okay? We gotta laugh at least a little bit. We gotta laugh at least a little bit, don't we? Harmony Ginger says, that's so good. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. We can't pretend it's not. That's funny. It's funny. Come on. Look, I get it. We're all sad. Look, I wanted Harris to win too. I get it. I went out, I canvassed, I voted, I did what I could. But she didn't. We don't have to be sad. Right? That doesn't help anything. No one, like, you don't get points because you're super emotional. Pick yourself up. Dust yourself off. Keep moving on, right? Keep going forward. And for the love of God, for the love of all that is holy, if you're going to have an emotional, severe emotional reaction to an election, don't film it. Do it in the privacy of your own home. Do not film it. Do not make a TikTok of it. Do not make a Twitter post where it has video of you crying and breaking down. That is never going to help you. It's never going to help the situation. It's not gonna go well for you. Again, if you find yourself being overly emotional, and there's nothing wrong with emotion, to be clear, I was sad. It happens, right? You lose, you get sad. If it's gonna be too much, turn off the stream. Turn off the camera. Don't videotape it. Don't make a TikTok of it. And especially, don't make a TikTok of it. Review that TikTok. Watch that TikTok and hit post. Don't do that. That's just a friendly public service announcement from your boy Wick, okay? Friendly public service announcement from your boy Wick, okay? Don't do it. Yeah. 47 says, Wick, you look soy as hell now. I look $500 richer is what I look like, okay? I look like one of those... I look like one of those harem concubine boys that the guy who shot bin Laden was trying to make his concubines, remember? Right? That's what I look like. Martin Cerny says, Jesus Christ, Wick, what happened to you? Someone paid me $500 to shave my beard. And I said, okay, let's do it. Yeah. I got a dentist appointment on the 12th. It's an ongoing thing. It is what it is. We're working through it. It's not like I'm doing nothing. Right. Does the carpet match the drapes? Don't be weird. 47 said I wouldn't mind being a concubine. Don't be weird. That's weird to say. But you guys saw that tweet, right? From the guy who killed bin Laden. He made a tweet about a bunch of like young-looking Harris voters and says, if it weren't for social media, you'd all be my concubines right now. Twitter is the only thing stopping him from being balls deep in those young men. Oh, I don't know what to tell you. Look, he says he did. Goku says, okay, put the beard back on. We've seen too much. No, let's get a YouTube poll going because I'm just really curious. Better with beard or without beard? I want to hear what you, dear viewer, has to say. Beard is better. Beardless is better. Start this poll. Like, I know what I prefer, but what do you prefer? So if you want to vote in this poll, let's go on to YouTube. Right? Go check it out. Chubit says, should I be watching on YouTube? Is Twitch chat where the losers hang out? Look, it's pretty split. I'll tell you what. I have a very extreme ideological divide within my community. Left-leaning people tend to watch me on Twitch. Right-leaning people tend to watch me on YouTube. So it's funny to me, because I have those chats side by side, right? And it's funny to me to watch the Twitch's reaction and watch YouTube's reaction to certain things. And the stark difference I will see between the two, right? I'll often see a stark difference between how my Twitch chat takes something and how my YouTube chat takes something. And it's always, I just find it amusing. I don't know. You gotta like the little things, okay? Look, it's not a one-for-one. We got lefties in my YouTube, we got righties in my Twitch, but I'm just talking as a, in general, right? I'm making a general statement. Martin Cerny says, I have no issue with you streaming naked, but this is over the line. Vladimir Putin says, people don't appreciate change. You look interesting. Stay beardless. Well, a lot of people say beard is better. We're looking at 75% on the poll. Still got quite a bit, right? We still got quite a bit of time. But 75% is quite a lot. While we wait for the poll, let me get you some more juicy takes from this election, okay? Juicy takes. Because people have been making Juicy, juicy takes. Me included. So here's something that some people have said, and I really hate it. Let me find it. Oh man, I got too many notifications. Too many notifications, okay? I'm too popular. Oh man, where was it? And see, with Twitter, I never know what's gonna pop off. Things that I think are like, oh man, this is a real banger. I'm gonna push send, and I'm gonna put my phone on vibrate and shove it up my ass and just enjoy the show, right? Like, no, there's nothing, right? But then things I just put out there sometimes just blow up, and I don't know why. I don't get it. People really hate that I point out that Biden would have done better. I really hate it. But we're not here to look at that. There's another take that I saw that I really want to highlight. Okay. Let me find it. Bear with me. Bear with me. We'll find it together. I know it's there. I know, it's there. Right? Just made it this morning. Everyone likes to argue in my comments, okay? And I don't mute streams, to be clear. Twitch streams, right? Or not Twitch streams, but Twitter streams. Like, I see all the arguments. I don't mute them. I listen. I learn. Okay. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we found it. We found it. We found it. Okay, sorry about that, gang. 70K likes on this bitch. Bad boy. Okay. This is something that Walsh said. Okay. So Walsh says this, and I need you to understand, dear liberals, okay? Allow me to translate. Walsh is making fun of you here. He knows you're going to take the bait. This is a joke. He does not mean it, but he knows you're going to take it seriously, and he's saying it so he can laugh at you, okay? Just letting you know. He says, now that the election is over, I think we can finally say that, yeah, actually Project 2025 is the agenda, LOL. That's a joke. He's joking. You understand that, right? Do you get that? That he's not being serious. He's having he's having a laugh at you, okay? He's having a laugh at you. Do we understand? Good. Okay, let's move on. This tweet. I think the left, and especially Democrat liberals, need to internalize that intentionally lying is an incredibly useful and good political strategy. We got Socked on Left backing that up, right? Who's against it just because the left can't hide their power level, not because it's morally wrong. But it's just a bunch of leftists that are like, why can't we lie? I would love to lie. We need to lie more. And then they will look and they will wonder, why? Why is it that the voter, the average American voter, can't tell the difference between the left and the right? They were like, but Trump lies so much more. True. But they also know you're lying, and you are a liar. You may do it less, but accordingly, the electorate doesn't seem to care who does it more or who does it less. They're unable to discern the difference between the two of you. And it does no one any favors when you, again, decide, oh, we're just going to lie, and we're going to tell everyone we're going to lie. We're going to lie strategically. Like, as soon as you say that, do we not understand this? As soon as you say stuff like that, as soon as you say stuff like, I'm going to lie strategically, no one ever trusts you again. Because they never know. They never know. They never know at what point you're lying just for strategic gain. For the D&D viewers in my audience, and I saw a couple of you here earlier, okay? Did my stream drop? Hello? Can you guys hear me? Oh no. Oh no. Frozen? Can you guys hear me? It hiccuped? Am I here? Hold on. Why am I gaining viewers? Why am I gaining viewers on Twitch when my screen's frozen and you can't hear me? Why, when I stop speaking and they can't see me anymore, I gain viewers? What is going on? Can you guys hear me now? Am I back up? You can't hear me. Oh, yeah, screw you, okay? Okay, fair enough. Look, for my D&D players in the audience, okay? And I saw a few of you. It's the same reason you don't fudge dice rolls as a DM. Because you need your players to trust you. And if you lose their trust, you lost it, right? You lost them. Okay? Same concept at play. Don't lie to people. Don't strategically lie to people. Don't do it. Even if you get some short-term gain, that doesn't help anything. Right? Long-term, they'll find out you're lying, and they will find out. And then you're screwed. You're screwed, baby. Your voice scares them away? Maybe. Yeah, as soon as you could see me again, everyone left. Twitch numbers are crazy today. I don't know. I go from like 120 to 30, then to 120 again, then to 50, then to 60, then to 30. I don't know what's going on Twitch. That's crazy. I don't understand it. What about lying by omission? You shouldn't do that either. You should try to just be honest with people. It's less bad, but it's still bad. How much to get you crying in the shower? For me to stream crying in the shower? Like, naked? You guys trying to get me to start an OnlyFans? I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't think you guys have enough money, frankly, for me to make that to do that on stream. I don't think you guys have enough money. Look, the internet's forever. Because it has to be worth it for me to have it on there, have it online forever, for everyone. And I don't think you guys have enough money to pay me for that, okay? Don't think you do. Prove me wrong. Send me thousands and thousands of dollars. Look, with enough money, anything is possible, okay? You can pay me with V-Bucks. I don't know what V-Bucks are. Do you guys have good overreactions? I hesitate to look. No, actually, you know what? I don't want to make fun of people, right? I find it uncouth. Look, if someone has an emotional breakdown, we should be kind. We should. In randos, why would I do that? Beard is better, but babyface matches voice? Yeah, maybe. He looks 15, but that statement was very 30 and up. Jesus, the racist and sexist stereotype spilling from butthurt Dems is disturbing? Yes. Yes, it is. I think, to me... Look, I've had a long time... I've processed the loss of Harris. Okay, I processed that loss. It wasn't particularly shocking. Again, as I kept saying, it was a 50-50 shot. So I had long since resigned myself to that possibility. So it wasn't a big deal, right? I never got high on my own supply with that, right? I was never like super copium pilled, right? I was like, this is gonna be razor thin. I don't know. It could go either way. And so I made my peace with the possibility of losing, right? A long time ago. A lot of people apparently didn't. That's a problem. Okay. But more concerning to me than a Trump win are some of the takes that I have seen from Democrats trying to explain the Trump win or trying to say what we should do after the Trump win, right? I think that Monsieur Balls here, funny name, but correct statement, is we should all be very concerned that a lot of Dems, I'm not even saying all Dems, I'm not even saying a majority of Dems, but too many are taking the tack of America is just fascist now, or American voters are all fascist, misogynists. They didn't vote for her because she's a woman. If that's your takeaway, we're gonna lose. That's not why a majority of people who didn't vote for her didn't vote for her. That's not why. I'm sure you could find a couple, right? I'm sure. But what's the word people like to use? It's not outcome determinative. I don't think so. Right? It's not everything, but it is something. Fair. But we have to concentrate on the things that we can change. Okay? She couldn't change that she's a woman. Well, I mean, could, but that's another can of worms. But she could change her messaging. She could change her VP choice. She could change a host of things. Okay? She could change a host of things that she just didn't. And she lost. And that's why she lost. Because she failed to appeal. Right? She failed to convince the voter on a whole host of issues. On the economy, on immigration, on extremism. She just failed. Econoboy says she could allow her inner socialism to come out. Econoboy, okay. I want you to look at this. Econoboy, you're Econoboy. This is for you. We're gonna go back to this, right? And I want you to internalize these numbers. This is from the Fox News exit polls here. Okay. These are the people who voted for Kamala Harris. Okay. Or when they were asked about Kamala Harris. Sorry. The question is this: regardless of who you support, how concerned are you that each candidate's views are too extreme? Okay. 55% of the total electorate was at least somewhat concerned that Harris was too extreme, too socialist, too communist, right? Those voters broke overwhelmingly for Trump. If this number, right? If either of these numbers, that 42%, and can we just, like, out of that 55%, 42% were very concerned, right? I do wonder about the 8% who were very concerned but voted for her anyway. I want to pick their brains, right? But if that number was less by 3%, if that number was 3% less, whether the 13% or the 42%, if that number was 3% less, we'd be looking at VP-elect, right? Or not VP-elect, President-elect Harris today, okay? That's what we'd be looking at. 3% switch. 3% of a switch in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. Harris lost those by 2% or less. So yeah. We got to deal with reality. You're in the waiting room. Okay, let me pull you in. We'll do some call-in shows. Hi, friend.
Well. it isn't Wick without a beard. Can't believe
Wick
it.
the beardless. I know. Hey, look, I got to make money somehow. Now that the Democrats are out of power, how am I going to get my paycheck? Okay, and I gotta,
true.
we gotta make money how we can. So
That's true. I agree. You got so you got paid to shave your beard. People paid for this?
yes, $500.
Wow. That's crazy. I wonder how much people would pay me to shave my beard. Probably not nearly as much.
You'll have to figure it out. But the number's not zero. You know,
It's not zero. Probably. That's
you could
true.
probably
I thought about
you
doing
could
an
probably get
election
at least
thing, but-
50. I'm guaranteeing you, right?
Wick, if AOC is the nominee in 2028 and she says we're going to socialize the means of production, she gets 70 senators in the Senate. She implements socialism if she does that, Wick.
I'm skeptical, but I'll hear you out. Give me the argument.
All right, here's my argument fundamentally. I think that, okay, my sense of things, and, perhaps this is my millennial upbringing speaking, but my sense of things is that, especially our generation and Gen X, right, where like you're growing up in like these very transformative times, these expansions of inequalities, socially speaking and economically speaking, and many successive events that are probably radicalizing in some way: the Iraq War, 9/11, the Great Recession, COVID. And I think that in general, there's just like kind of a big anti-establishmentism that sort of exists in the population. And it's kind of what explains why there can be so many Obama-Trump voters, in my opinion, right? Where Obama was seen as the change candidate, seen as hope and change, seen as this like sort of radical sort of decoupling from the status quo in a many number of ways. He runs a more progressive message in 2008. Obviously, being the first, black president was transformative as well. But then, obviously, look, he wasn't really transformative when it came to policy. Leading to Trump. A lot of these economic and social inequalities persist, leading to Trump. Trump was so disastrous and COVID was so disastrous that it's like, well, hey, we kind of want to go maybe back to some normalcy here. We're going to go back to the Democratic Party, but only by it's a very thin choice. And then Donald Trump comes in, change candidate again, he ends up winning. And so in general, I just think that Democrats have to not only separate themselves from the establishment, from not necessarily Joe Biden in this election, but also the establishment, and they have to try and sort of code themselves that way. Andy Kim did a town hall with Trump supporters that voted for him, the Democrat. This was when he was in the House.
In Jersey,
he's still in the
right?
House. Yeah. And he said that a lot of the split ticket Trump voters were people who didn't necessarily have a sophisticated view or understanding that he was left wing or, that he would do, evil socialism or whatever.
Yeah, they saw him as a moderate.
Well, no, it wasn't that. They said, because they didn't say we see you as a moderate, we see you as a far left person or whatever. They said, we see you as not the establishment. Like, we see you as like different from the status quo. Well, no, because Andy Kim was an insider. It's not like it was just a perception that people had.
That's what I'm saying.
Kim.
They saw him as an outsider.
Yeah, that's how they
Yes.
viewed him, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying that's what he was. I'm saying that's how they saw him,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and so I think that I don't even know necessarily. I think that there's probably some case you can make that a progressive message in and of itself is easier to sell in that way, because progressive messaging is a more radical departure from the status quo. But also, when I look at the people who might see who's going to go into 2028 and just like seem like an outsider who's going to come in and shake things up, I can't think of any moderate politicians where that's the case, right? It's not going to be Pete Buttigieg. It's not going to be Amy Klobuchar. These people would not be seen that way, right? They would suffer that same sort of.
Josh Shapiro.
I really disagree.
You disagree.
I really
disagree. I know people in Pennsylvania. I can't speak for Wisconsin. I can't speak for Michigan, but I can speak for Pennsylvania, and they love him here. He's getting huge margins, right? And he still has huge margins of support.
People in Minnesota love Amy Klobuchar, and I think people in Minnesota love Tim Walz, but I don't know that they have.
Pennsylvania is a bellwether in a way those states are not. Does that make sense?
I don't believe in. I don't
bellwether
know
is the
how
wrong
true
word,
it
but
is.
the electorate in America, right, as a whole, looks a lot like Pennsylvania.
In some regards, yes. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to look at the successes of any particular candidate, right? And I don't think Josh Shapiro would be a bad candidate, but I think he has like the problem that maybe like a Gavin Newsom would have. It's like Gavin Newsom looks way too clean. He's too politician-y. Like he's not going to appeal to this sort of disconnected, sort of anti-establishment sort of feeling, general sentiment that people have. And that's not the only reason you would nominate somebody, obviously, right? There's a confluence of factors, but I just, the progressive depth chart for 2028 to me seems deeper on a general election than the establishment politicians. Progressives can't get out of a primary, it seems like, but if they could, I feel like it would go quite well.
I mean, we'll see, right? Like that's the key. You got to convince your base, your electorate, your the party. I do wonder if the Democratic Party is going to make any changes in how they conduct primaries between now and 2028. I think they should, right? I think
what?
that I think that this election has showcased on a lot of levels that people just don't trust the DNC. They don't trust the Democratic Party right at large. As you said, they'll vote for progressive policies. For whatever reason, they won't vote for a progressive candidate. And we need to figure out why that is. Like, what's the disconnect here? I do think you're onto something when you say things like they want an outsider, someone who's not connected to the institutions, right? That's true. But I don't know if AOC, because the center and a lot of the center right, I'm not talking MAGA, right? But I'm like talking the independent center right, the real ones, not the people that like online people think are centrist.
The
right?
1% of Republicans.
The people think that I'm centrist, right? I'm not. So if anyone's calling me centrist, I know that I can just not listen to them. They have no idea what they're talking about. But it's the people, the centrists, right? They view AOC as an institutional candidate. They absolutely do. They view a lot of these progressive policies, these extreme progressive policies, as the policies of the institutions.
Yeah, but I don't know if I agree with this. I think it's going to be a matter because I don't think AOC, while she does have like a national profile, and that's different from Bernie. Nobody knew who Bernie was before he ran for president.
That's what helped him, by the way. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, I take it. Yeah, I do take it that a candidate, there's a kind of a almost like a low risk, high reward style campaign with Bernie, where it's like I'm not risking anything because nobody knows who I am, and I can kind of introduce myself to America on my own terms, right? Whereas AOC's already introduced herself, so I take that to be a reasonable criticism. I just think that AOC, especially in the midst of like really getting into the national spotlight of running, and these are early days, like she might literally not give a fuck about running for president, right? Like Michelle Obama, like everyone told her, like, please run, please run. She clearly just does not give a fuck about being president. She's not gonna run,
which is why they want her to run. Like unironically, like someone who doesn't want to be president will outperform someone who does, in my opinion. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, and I don't know that AOC strikes me as like someone who's like absolutely desperate for, becoming president or some position of higher authority. So I don't think that'll stick to her. But I think that especially when you look at like of the voters that existed in this election, I don't think many people actually switched their minds this election. That's not proven by the numbers that I'm familiar with.
The data doesn't show either way.
No,
you
it
can't
does.
make a case for either position based
it does.
on the data.
Yeah. No, the data is clear that most people, like of the, people who voted for Biden and Trump last time around, 93%, I'm looking at it now, 93% of Biden voters who voted this time around voted for Harris. 95% of former Trump voters voted for Trump again.
Yeah, but that's like a 2% switch from what it was in 2020. Like they obviously kind of, and again, 2% is Pennsylvania, 2% is Wisconsin, 2% is Michigan.
If you assume it's evenly distributed, yeah, I'm not saying it's not important to maintain your base, right? But when I think of, like who has done a good job of maintaining the base of the Democratic Party, right? And certainly it's not. Um, it seems like your more progressives, your more forceful messaging tends to do that a little bit better. Like Obama was a very like center left person in office, but he campaigned very aggressively. He that both on the positive end and on the negative end, like he would really attack his opponents and frame them as terribly as you could frame someone essentially. Um, and but he would also run a very forceful messaging campaign and platform, and I think that was successful. When Biden did the same thing in 2020, he retains a significant portion of the base. He does better than Harris does. I think it's important to like offer.
Yeah, but Biden did run as a moderate. He was seen as a moderate candidate
Well, I mean, I guess we would have
in
to
2020. Comparatively
yeah.
to Harris, comparatively to AOC, comparatively to Bernie, comparatively to all those, he was seen as like the more moderate choice.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course he ran that way in the general and in the primary as well. I'm not trying to
Which
deny
is
that,
what
but
matters here in a real way, right? Like
yeah,
how
but
he presented
Harris.
himself versus how he actually governed, right? Because again, they will vote on how you present yourself in a lot of ways, especially if you aren't the incumbent.
Well, Harris overwhelmingly this election overwhelmingly won the moderate, like people who would call themselves moderate vote,
Where do you
right?
see that?
I'm just looking at the CNN. I always reference the CNN exit poll because they have many
Oh, I'm
successes.
using the Fox News one. So here we go. Yeah, no, she did. She got 57% of
That's
the
what CNN says.
moderate.
I mean, all exit polls are pretty. They're going to be pretty tight. But I was just going to say,
Also,
like,
exit polls are kind of wonky. They're not very, they got a
they're
large
the
margin
best.
of error. Let's say that.
They're the best. They're the best polling data that we
Sure.
really can have because of the sample sizes. But I was just going to say, she wins the moderate vote in 2024, and I think that and again, that's of people who actually voted, right? And so if we and it's not that there's no room for what you're saying. I don't think AOC should come out in 2028 and run on, Green New Deal, Medicare for all, where you ban private insurance, $20 hour minimum wage, rent control. Like it's not that she should do all of those things in one candidate, but I think that one of the things that the Democrats have failed to do, even in 2020 as well, was it's like you need to come out with 3 to 4 big policies, just 3 to 4. And they need to be big. Like they need to be like things most people are affected by. You can't say we're expanding Medicare for home care. Nobody gives a shit about that. That's such a small percentage of people. It helps those people a lot, but nobody cares. The child tax credit's great policy. Less than 20% of voters have children. Right? Like you have to, it has to be something everyone can, it's like, hey, I'm going to invest in even if it was something as mundane as like, hey, we're going to do deep investments in like public transportation, or like we're going to do a public option that everyone can take out of, or like we're going to give everyone a small basic income, $200 a year, and just see where, things like that, right? These kind of big policies, but everyone pulls out of, I think, are the way that you would go. It's just very difficult to inspire the 10 million plus Biden voters, I think, that sat out this election. It's difficult to inspire those people on like, yeah, we're going to do.
You're correct. I think it's a
very
combination.
little policies.
It's a both. It's an and, not a but, right? Like not an or. It's an and.
Yeah.
So I do think that yes, that Harris needs to inspire people more, and needed to inspire people more by having a more of a big dream kind of deal, right? Coming out with a high aspirational goal, right? Saying we are going to build 20 million houses or something, and then running on that and really focusing on it. One of the problems with the Harris campaign, it was too, they didn't really focus on anything. Can you think of anything that they strongly focused on? I can't.
The only thing was abortion that was like a strong focus, I would say. I mean, the only thing. And that's unfortunate. Look, abortion is a motivating issue, but look, you can't.
Those were already baked in. You're not like, does that make sense, right? I don't know.
I happen to think that a lot of our political environment relates to increasing levels of economic stratification and inequality, right? And so And I do think that a message that centers around inequality does work. And, you know, for instance, like a more like neoliberal approach would be like Jared Polis, where like he centers everything on cost. You know, like if he were to sell a public option, he would say, well, it saves you money because the public option is, you know, is cheaper than a private plan, and it's more secure and these kind of things, right? Whereas like Bernie Sanders would say, you know, we're the richest country in the world, and there's millions of people that don't have healthcare. That's just wrong. That's
Yeah.
that's
No, that's
unequal,
good.
right?
That's
And I think both
un-American, yeah.
messages
Tell
ultimately
you what,
work with people. I think.
I'll go with you. Like, yes, absolutely. Take those two. I'll even give you those two specifically and say, yeah, run on those. But walk with me here. Walk in this hypothetical world that I'm going to
Walking.
paint. Okay.
I'm
She
walking
does
here.
that. She throws that up. Okay. Then she goes on Hassan's stream.
Mhm.
She sits down with Hassan. Okay. And of course, the conversation after the niceties, she turns to him, says, "You're an anti-Semite. You're un-American. We want nothing to do with you. Your type of politics is not something that I'm going to condone or be anywhere near." And then she makes him cry. Those two things combined, 538 electoral vote landslide. You can't convince me otherwise. Look, she needed to do both. She needed to have high aspirational goals, right?
You're
To
talking about
gin
Kamala
up the
or
base.
AOC?
Kamala Harris, right? To gin up
Okay.
the base, okay? And she needed, and this is something that she didn't get, because a lot of centrists were looking for this, right? A lot of center-right people were looking for this. She needed something, she needed to ensure and reassure them that she would stand up against the extremists on her side, or the people who were perceived to be on her side. And the far left kind of people, the socialists, communists, etc., a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, perceived as being on her side. And she needed to stand up and publicly and loudly distance herself from them, not by ignoring them, which she did. That was her strategy. She tried. It didn't work. But by publicly disavowing them, getting away from them in any way, shape, or form. And Hassan is just a great choice for this because he wasn't going to vote for Harris anyway. None of his viewers were going to vote for Harris anyway, right? So it's like an easy choice.
Well, okay? So your claim. So what is your claim? So you're saying
My
instead
claim,
of 57%.
like
No,
Clinton,
really quick.
Hmm.
So I know I understand. I understand
Sure.
like your point, but
Yeah.
I'm saying like you're saying the implication would be that if Harris did that, what she would go from 57% of the moderate vote to
No.
2/3.
I'm saying the moderate vote that turned out at 33% would be more like 40%.
Oh, you're saying this is where the Biden voters would come
Yes.
back and like vote for her
Yes,
again. Yeah, I mean, I don't.
absolutely. Because a lot
Again,
of
I
Biden
think
voters sat out for a couple reasons, and I know you'll probably disagree with me, but this is my intuition. Keep in mind, we don't have 100% data. We do have to make some guesswork here.
Yeah,
This is my
this will
guess.
become more clear in the coming
Yes.
months
Yes.
when there's more data available.
So this is my instinct and intuition, and I understand right now, you can just ignore me if you like, but this is what it is.
Yeah.
A lot of them saw what they viewed as the podcasting class, the elites, the journos, the institutions, push Biden out, right? Push him out, right? They saw that. They saw Harris' refusal to disavow the extremists in her party, and they're like, I'm just going to sit this one out.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
my view.
yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I think ultimately this election had to the extent that what you're saying is true, I think it had very, very little to do with the things that you're talking about. Like if we're talking about like what were like the issues that caused this loss, everything we've spoken about is like probably a minority of the issues because the
No, I agree
majority
with
of
you.
the issue was
The
inflation.
elephant in the room is
Yeah.
inflation. I understand that.
Yeah.
But we're talking
So-
margins here, and the margins
Right.
matter.
On the
Yeah.
and on the margins, yeah, I don't think there was a meaningfully large group of people that said like, "Oh, I saw them push out, Uncle Joe and then I'm offended by that and so I'm just not going to come out and vote." I think that a lot of that specific problem, to the extent that it wasn't just a lack of a positive progressive message in a progressive attack campaign, to the extent that it was like, people who had other reasons, I would say a big reason would be just like distance between Trump terms.
Mm.
That like when Trump was a present active threat, then it seemed like, especially when you compound that with COVID, people were just so
That
much
played
more
into it.
pissed off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that played into it. Can I also say one of the other things that I think that she failed to do that she should have done? You might agree with me in this one. I don't think that her campaign properly educated the public or properly messaged the pain tariffs are about to cause us, right? I don't think she properly explained why a lot of companies, and we're starting to hear reports that this is happening now, right? A lot of companies are deciding we need to do some layoffs, we need to hedge our bets, we need to start spending our money
Stocking up
instead of
stuff.
instead of bonuses for Christmas. We're gonna instead spend that money to stock up on these goods that we're gonna be importing to use in our products, like these
Yeah.
raw goods. This is starting to happen, and because they're forecasting that Trump's going to do what he said he would do and impose these tariffs. And that's going to have, even if he doesn't, the fact that a lot of companies and corporations thinks that he will is going to have a huge impact on people's pocketbooks. And I think that she didn't properly communicate how that's going to mean that you have less money to spend on groceries, that you have less money to spend on taking your kids out to the movies. You're going to have less money in your pocket, right? And I think she failed to communicate that properly. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. In my experience, again, like, from what I recall with Obama's a couple of campaigns that he ran for president, I don't know. I don't know if his Senate run was like this, but from what I recall, like a lot of the stuff that he would really like latch on to Republicans, like it's like he would absolutely force them to like drag around the burden of cutting welfare programs and lowering taxes for rich people. It was like if you're going to run against Obama as a Republican, he's going to paint you as like a loving the rich, hating the poor, person. And I just didn't see that. I haven't seen that since Obama. And Biden won in 2020, but like I really think not only are those things true about Republicans, like Republican politicians, Republican governments, it really does seem like that's an extremely
resonates.
effective, it's an extremely effective attack campaign to run because it's like, bro, own this,
I
right?
don't disagree. You just got to be honest with it, right? You can't, like, one of the things that I think Harris failed at.
Well, those are honest, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. But one of the things that I think Harris failed at is what she did try to tie Trump to. You can say they're right or wrong, but the public didn't believe her when she said Trump's a fascist. Now, I believe Trump's a fascist, right? That was too disconnected, right? It was too pie in the sky. It was too ethereal academic, right?
Yeah.
What she needed to do
yeah.
was say, Trump's going to cost you money. Trump's going to make it harder for you to pay your bills.
Yeah, but I think I agree that he should have attacked him more on that. But I don't actually think that Kamala spent, I don't think that she spent an inordinate amount of time talking, like her whole campaign wasn't like Trump is a threat to democracy like Biden's campaign was.
It was very unfocused campaign. Yes.
Like Biden's
correct.
campaign, when Biden was running for president for like 4 or 5 months, his entire message was Trump's a threat to democracy. There was nothing else, right? Maybe that gets more developed if he continues to run into November, but so I'm not faithful that Biden would have done that. And I agree with you that they should attack them more on cost issues and like things like that.
This is how people vote. This is it. This is how a lot of people vote. Yeah. This right here. So if you're talking about fascism or whatever, it doesn't okay, right? This is what they vote on. Okay.
That's why I liked Tim Walz's. I mean, his initial when he was sort of campaigning for vice president in the news media, he was saying things that I think are like parts of that good message. That's why I was so confident in him as a VP pick. I still think that was the best VP pick.
Do you
but
really?
They kind of muzzled him. Absolutely, yeah.
Even after his debate with JD Vance?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay. I mean,
even if we say he did badly, it's like he literally VP debates do not determine even 1/1000th of the result of the election.
At least for the electorate that turned out, it doesn't seem that Walz was the choice. I
Mm,
know it's
well,
hindsight's
well,
2020. I
the
understand
VP
that,
could be
right?
almost anyone. I don't think the VP makes
Right.
a big difference, but I think that the VP obviously can help in the messaging campaign and be a good surrogate. And I think Tim Walz was a good surrogate for the campaign. I just think that a lot of his initial messaging, I wish they would have carried that forward. Where like he was like very fiercely defending the welfare state, saying things like, look, Donald Trump doesn't know what it's like to be poor. Welfare isn't a handout. It's a hand up and this kind of thing. And he talks about welfare expansion in Minnesota, the public option, the free school meals. I think they did paid family leave as well. Um, these are popular programs that don't even cost that much money that, are, you think good things to run on. But all we got out of Harris was like the most like marginal little baby tax proposals on the planet.
I don't
And
disagree.
yeah, and we got Medicare, dude. Libs on fucking Twitter gaslit me so hard because I was like, this isn't a big deal. And I see all these libs on Twitter that are just like, oh my God, this is a game changer. And I'm like, no, it's not. How could you think this? I can't believe I was gaslit.
A lot of people got high on their own supply. Okay, they believed the hype.
What?
And no, I'm with you. I fell victim to that too,
Like,
until a little bit, right? Like, because I think it's
we'll
important
be
to
around.
recognize
We'll be around
where
in 2027.
we messed up.
We'll
but,
be around.
yeah.
We'll be around in 27,
Just remember,
and
okay? Just
I'm
remind
sure there will be a
yourself,
debate.
okay? Because you know what I'm gonna do, right?
What are you gonna do?
Anytime, right? Someone speaks up about what the Democrat should do or what the Democratic candidates should do, I'm gonna check what was their position on whether Biden should be pushed out or not. And if they were one of the early adopters, one of the strong pusher out soldiers, I'm going to laugh them out of the room.
I mean, Biden definitely was not the optimal candidate for this race.
He was better than Harris.
We don't know that, obviously.
I look. Did you see the screenshot of the little of the internal poll, right, that had been passed around to kind of justify pushing him out, where it forecasted how many electoral votes they thought Biden would get and how it was terrible and they needed to push him out because this was our forecast. It was 233 electoral votes. How much did our girl Harris get exactly? Was it more or less than that? Looks like less to me. So even by that dismal report, Harris underperformed it. He
but again,
did objectively worse than what they predicted Biden would.
Right, but we don't know. Again, we don't know how much worse he may or may not have done in the future. I'm not open to the idea that Biden would have won, but like the idea that we could confidently say this is almost like saying like, oh, I wish I had bought Bitcoin in 2012. It's like, yeah, but you had no reason to believe that Bitcoin would be so valuable in the future,
but
right?
it's
a
at the time
rational
I
choice.
argued with the Biden thing. Like this isn't me going back. I'm talking at the time as it was happening. I was like, don't do this. It was going to be a mistake.
Yeah, but you
She
don't
would
know if
underperform.
that's right.
I didn't know for 100% certain, but based on
Yeah.
the information I had at the time, based on my intuition, based on my
But you
read of
still
the
don't
room,
know if you're right.
I was correct.
You still don't know. How could you possibly? Biden could have
My
done
favorite color's petty,
worse.
and I'm going to be a little petty little girl when it comes to this. Okay, with people.
Why would you
I'm
be
gonna say that
confident that Biden would do better?
Because the metrics show that, right?
No, I disagree.
Fair enough.
Do you think that Biden? Okay, because
You can disagree,
even on the
but
metrics,
like, I mean, I was right.
even on the metric, no, but you're not though. Even on the metrics that the Democrats looked good on, like when you polled like enthusiasm, the what do you call it? The difference in performance on those polls was substantial between Biden dropping out. Like the Democrats almost clearly gained momentum, like a noticeably large amount of momentum in the polling right after
They were getting high
Kamala
on their own
becomes the candidate.
supply. It was people who were never gonna vote. It was those podcasters, those Emma Viglins,
People that answer
Hassanners,
polls,
right? Those were the people that were pushing that. They got high on their own supply.
the polls reflected a clear directional shift in the race.
manufactured.
Okay, you think it was manufactured?
That's how it turned out.
No,
it did not
no,
materialize in actual votes. Can we agree?
Wick.
Hold on. Can we agree with
No,
that it
we
didn't-
cannot agree on that. Biden might get 5 million less votes than Harris. That could have been a result that happened. All that I'm arguing is that she has a less bad performance than Biden, most likely. And I think there's obviously good reason to expect that be the case.
I don't believe you. It was not the case.
Wick, at what point would you say that the incumbent president should not be running for re-election? Like, if it's not at the point of Biden, then at what point would you say an incumbent president shouldn't be running for re-election?
Hold on, do you think Biden was unfit?
What do you mean, do I think he was unfit?
Incapable of running?
No, I think he probably would have been able to physically do the job for another 4 years.
Yes, I agree too. Right? So given that's the case, right? Buying into this narrative, because it hurt Kamala in the general election, because people saw her as a liar. They didn't trust
your standard
her
cannot
because they saw her as covering up the truth that Biden was unfit and incompetent, right?
So
it bought into that narrative. It played into that narrative. And we see this reflected in the exit polls with who do you trust, right?
I don't want to assume you're saying that your only standard for whether or not the president should run for re-election cannot possibly be, are they physically able to do the job?
Do they win the primary?
Okay,
that's another standard. Sure.
Here's a question, and this may be just a principal difference between the two of us. I don't think there's a consequential reason to say one way or the other, but we don't have good reason to say one way or the other. But principally speaking, like if a person, let's say a person squeaks by, wins the nomination, gets a majority of the delegates, and then let's say 2 days later, something like catastrophically bad is like literally this guy's the most corrupt person on the planet, and like their approval rating goes down to 18% and they lose 50 points of popularity in the polls or whatever. You would say, no, why would we ever tell our incumbent that won the primary to drop out? Like, no, like, of course, we would have good reason to at that point.
Hold on. I fundamentally disagree with this because it opens up to narratives, which, again, we saw play out in the actual reality where the accusation, the line that the Democratic elites took out your candidate that you voted for and appointed a candidate and that they just king-maked or queen-maked in this case, that ended up having teeth. Right? That ended up having teeth, and you've given them a gift in this. So Biden,
that doesn't mean it's not a good decision, though.
As with as many flaws as Biden had, would again still be the better choice. Because again, now we have a precedent, which is a problem as well. Right? Now we have a precedent that at any time, if for any reason, if the primary candidate, the primary voters elect doesn't perform well in the polls or something happens that makes the podcasting dono class uncomfortable, that they will just ignore the voter and put who they want in. It has been catastrophic to the voter base trust in the DNC. Catastrophic.
Super disagree. Yeah,
I'm just saying this is going to play out, right?
I don't think there's much of a precedent, but I mean, we can agree to disagree on that. It's not a big point. But no, it just sounds bizarre to say that, like, yeah, basically if the guy's breathing, we should never ever drop the person.
If the people that the primary voter chooses is wanting to do the job and able to do the job, you should let them do the job.
No, I understand. No, I wasn't mischaracterizing. That's exactly what I said. You're basically just saying, hey, if the guy wins the primary, then fuck, as long as they're just physically capable, then they have every right to just stay in office, and nobody should say they should drop out and switch someone out. Like, what if some Mark Robinson shit happens? Like, you know, the Democratic nominee like wins the election, and we find out like, oh, he's an active member of the KKK or something. Like, even at that point, would you be like, well, we got to stick with them, guys? It's okay. The Democrats did found the KKK anyway, you know? Like
that's why we vet. See, this is the importance of getting the vetting done, right? And this is why we have a process. That's why we go through the process. That's why we go.
How the fuck did we not know he was in the KKK, guys? Wick, I understand your point, but like that just. I don't think people think this way. I think most people would say if there's like catastrophically bad thing, like what if they're a corrupt person?
Most people would be wrong.
You wouldn't say a corrupt politician should step down and be replaced?
Corrupt how?
Like in any way. Let's say that we find out that they took a
Are they
bribe from a
breaking the
foreign government.
law? Then they should be prosecuted for that.
Okay, so we shouldn't say as a party we should
What
replace
you
this person.
shouldn't do, right? Okay, I'll give you a great example of this. What was that guy's name? He got Me Too'd. He was a Democratic senator.
Al Franken?
Yes. Yes. Al Franken. That happened to Al Franken. That was a terrible mistake that the Democrats made. They should have, could have, let him have his day in court, go through the process. But instead, they circumvented that process and pushed him out. And that lost the trust of the American voter in a way that's been hard to overcome, right? It hasn't been like super devastating, right? But it was a negative. It was a knock. It was an
Wick, I'm not
unforced
saying
error.
I'm not
So
I'm not
yes,
saying
if you find a Democratic politician that does a bad thing and is corrupt, go through the process. What you don't do is get a bunch of buddies and force him out.
the Democrats. Okay, Wick, what do you? Okay, at that point, okay, let's just say that we find out. Okay, we find out this guy has a. It's like an Eric Adams situation. Like this, this guy has a history of, graft and taking bribes and things like this, right? And let's say that we find that out. This guy's already won all the primaries, but it's 1 month before the convention, right? Just kind of like a Biden situation, and we find all this out. I feel like insiders in the Democratic Party have every right, and I think on behalf of their voting bases and their constituencies have every right to be like, you are not the guy for this job. You're not the guy.
Put him through the process, and the processes exist, right? To get
the process
other
is
things
we
done.
voted for delegates to go to the convention and vote for a candidate,
No one
and
sees it
they
like
voted
that.
for someone
Again,
else.
People saw it, and it's just true. They saw it as a coup.
So you would say
It was
okay,
a coup.
even if it takes 2 years to finish the prosecution, you would say just let him run through the just fuck it, give him the nomination.
We're not even talking about like a criminal trial. We're talking they wouldn't even let him go through the Senate's ethics committee in the case of Al Franken, but that has its own process.
No, but I'm not
right?
talking about. I'm just trying to
You're
test
asking me a
your
principle.
principles here.
I'm giving
That's
you
right.
an example of why I have the principle that I do. An example of when we didn't use that principle and we decided to do something very similar to what we did with Biden, force the guy out, right, and circumvent the process, and how that has hurt the Democratic standing.
Right. So you're just saying, okay. So you're of the view that basically the threshold for this has to be so astronomically high because clearly by replacing the nominee, you think we lose a significant amount of confidence within the voter base, right? And no, like there's no way that directionally that makes sense from an electoral outcomes perspective. Okay, like let's just play this out, right?
Long term.
Practically,
long term. I'm not thinking one election. I'm thinking 10.
Okay, but even no, this never makes sense in any election to do this. Okay, I refuse to believe that. So like, let's just say that this happens, right? Okay, like we have two universes, right? Eric Adams is like the nominee for somehow like wins the primary or some shit, and like we find out that oh shit, like this guy's crazily corrupt, and then his approval rating goes down by like 20 percentage points after charges get filed or some shit. Like 20% of people approve of him and 55% of people approve of the other candidate. The other candidate's polling at like 65 to 35. You would say, well, probabilistically, by replacing him, we would actually do even worse than if we kept him.
Long term, it would have been how you replace him. That's the key. How does this go down, right? Is it something you do behind closed doors where the candidate agrees to it and agrees for the good of the party to step down without any fighting, right? And it's like a very short process. Fair. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable, but a lot better, right? But that's not what happened here in this case. It was a public brawl that people saw, right? I am, though, right? And I'm giving you why it's different, why it's not the same. But the principle of letting the voters decide, even if you think they're making a wrong choice, is what is going to win people's trust back long term.
All right. Keep that energy when Kanye West is fucking winning the Democratic primary.
Once Kanye West wins the Democratic Party, I'll have you back on. Buddy, thanks for calling in. I'm going to get to a couple more callers. I'll see you later. Okay. Hello. You're live, sir or madam. I don't even know.
Oh, hello.
Hey, what's up?
Sorry, I had a delay, so I didn't know you were gonna pull me in. How are you doing?
We're here. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. So I really rarely make appearances. I do watch a lot of stuff.
Thank you. Well, we were blessed to have you. What's going on? What do you have to say?
Well, I just want to come on. I think it's good timing because everything's happened and it's kind of the story's coming to an end in a way. Um, but something I just noticed it's just not discussed enough to me from my perspective, and I think full admittance, I do support Trump. Um, that it's just not talked about. It's just this concept of like uh, personality perception. So I feel like a lot of the left right now is talking about reflecting on what happened and whatnot. But it's all through this frame of like, and you can hear it through your stream or anyone's stream, debating policy, debating tactics. But there's no talk about like you did somewhat talking about Biden,
Charisma.
like in terms of like who it should be and um, was Kamala the right choice, all this kind of thing. And to me, there's this overall problem with it comes across like you have blindness to certain personalities. Um, it's like you cannot perceive certain personality traits for what they are, and therefore whether they are not really conducive to your goal of winning elections.
No,
Um,
I think I talked about this earlier, right? That there's a
a
that
little bit, a
a
little
lot
bit,
of
yeah.
what Kamala did to appeal to the center was a young leftist professional institutionalist idea of what would appeal to the center. Right? It wasn't actually
Right,
appealing
again,
to
but
the
you
center.
again, that's
Right?
talking about what she did. I mean, like when I think of Kamala, I just imagine her. I just think corporate shell, like she just says whatever her masters tells her, like she's a suit, like in terms of a personality type. Like before I even debate whether she's wrong or right about what she's doing, what she's promoting, it's just like, and then when I think about that, I think, wow, that feels very opposite to Bernie Sanders, like in terms of personality.
The
And
authenticity.
this is what I'm
She
trying to
didn't
point
seem
out
authentic
overall
to
is
you.
just, sorry, what?
Are you saying that she didn't seem authentic?
Again, that's about delivery. What I'm trying to say is like solely her as a person, her personality, her as a human being. If you met her, you spend time with her.
Felt like an
Like,
authentic corporate shell. That's what you're saying, right? Am I missing it?
yes, that is what
A
I
soulless
said.
husk.
But I'm just trying to make sure that I don't confuse you and say like, oh, I don't like her because she did this and that makes her um bad. I mean, like her personality to me comes across as a certain way, and it seems very opposite to the personality of, say, Bernie Sanders. And I'm not saying Bernie Sanders is like perfect or something like that. What I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to, from a bird's eye view, I'm trying to get you guys to zoom out. To me, when I see what happened to Bernie, I feel like that was just such strategically a huge mistake. If you are trying to go towards like a more left wing party that wants left wing things, and you also want to succeed, like I feel like when he was more popular and he had his book and his book was a huge success, you know, as someone on the other side, that concerns me because when I was watching that, I thought, wow, this Bernie guy has charisma. He has a lot of what the left seems to
I get
want.
you. I'm picking up
He
what you're
seems
putting
kind of
down.
genuine.
Yes.
Whether he's
People
right or
trusted
wrong,
him.
he seems kind of
He was
genuine.
real.
Yeah, yeah.
He was a
And
real OG homie, okay? Right? We get it.
and
He
to
was a
me,
gangster. And he didn't
but
make no
I mean,
apologies for
I don't
who
get
he
too
was.
lost on, I don't want to get too lost in saying like Bernie is good for this reason. What I'm
But
trying to say is that
okay.
there, there, again, zoom out because this is what keeps happening. We keep zooming in, which it's good sometimes, but I don't think this is the time after Trump's won. I think you need to zoom out and say like, why do we keep doing this thing? As in we, as in the leftist group as a collective, we see these personalities and we keep pushing personalities that are not effective above other ones.
Because
And
people,
I don't mean that that happened recently. I feel like
it's
that
it's
has
a
been happening for a
consistent
long
problem.
time.
Yes, it's a consistent problem that the Democratic Party has, that they are too slick, right? That they are the corporatized, they are seen as, and in many ways are, corporatized, built in a lab to appeal to certain demographics, and a lot of them just don't feel real. Yes,
I
and that
mean,
is a
I
problem
don't even want to
that
go that
Harris.
far and say there's like some kind of conspiracy to like create these people, because like we do know a lot about Kamala's history. Like we know like how her life went, for example. Like we do know.
No one
It's not
cared
actually
about
kind
her
of.
coming from a middle class family, though. That didn't hit. No one cared about
I know.
that.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. I'm just saying the reason I brought that up is to say that we do know a lot about her. It's not like some kind of conspiracy or secret. To me, there is a problem with the actual voter, that they seem to have a blindness to what makes a effective and good personality for effective leadership, at least of your side and what
Got
you're
you.
actually aiming to get
I
towards.
understand.
Um,
I get what
Like
you're saying.
I think this is like the biggest problem you guys have, and it's crazy to me because I mean, in a sense, like I'm in this, I'm having a bit of a happy time because we were in a state of victory. But I do look over and think, well, what went wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And the things you guys talking about what went wrong, I mean, they might be true what you're saying, but to me, they're all superseded by this personality blindness problem, I think.
Genuineness. I get you. I
And because
understand.
when I to me, and you've
I don't
talked about these
disagree.
people before. I want to bring up like Destiny and Hassan, very different people, but ultimately, to me, they are they are have huge followings, but to me, they are completely poisonous to any left wing movement. Like in terms of, to me, you want healthy growth. You want growth that is lasting, long term growth. Because if you lose, if you lose versus some politician, it doesn't matter because you have to you're always going to get another chance. You need to win in the long run. And Trump's going to be gone in 4 years. I mean, I wouldn't worry about it. Like to me, when you look, and I really dive deep. I know a lot about psychology. I know a lot about mental disorder. Hassan and Destiny, those are not average people. They are very uniquely different people. And it's good to have diversity of personality and diversity of thoughts within reason, though. Like the way they act, they are not team players at all.
Fair
They are
enough.
not team players at all. Like,
Well, they're real,
and
at
when I
least.
see Hassan at the top of Twitch, I mean, to me, if I was a leftist, I would be angry about that because I know he's going to lead people astray.
Yeah,
He
Hassan.
might get these
Hassan being
small victories.
the alarm.
Sorry if I'm talking over
No,
you.
you're fine. No, just real
It's
quick,
hard
because I
with
do have another
I'm on a
caller that
lap.
I got to get to. So I'm not.
Okay, can I just wrap up then? Just
Wrap,
one
please
more
up,
thing.
please. Yes.
Yeah. So my overall point is just there's a huge personality blindness, and I was just pointing out the example of the Destiny and Hassan, like such a perfect case study to me of if I was left wing, I would want these people to step back and someone else to take their place because they are really doing incredible damage in ways that we on the right could never do to you. Because it really is it's internal damage. It's the enemy within. It really is. And I think that needs to be talked about way more. Learn how to actually perceive personality. I would like the left to start doing the 16 personality test. Look into how that stuff works. Look into psychology. Look into mental disorders. If you look at Destiny's life, it is a car crash of events. This is not someone to be a role model of at all, whether you believe in his politics or not. So that's my warning. I mean,
Thank you for the warning,
I'm
sir.
giving you advantage by even telling you this because most right wingers are going to not tell you this because it's true, and
The
it will help
secret
you if you actually
info
take it to
that
heart.
you're giving
Anyway,
us.
thank you.
Well, thank you for
Good night.
calling in, buddy. Yeah. look, I think I agree with what he was saying at first, that the left has an authenticity problem in many ways, right? They aren't seen as genuine. A lot of Democratic candidates aren't seen as genuine. Harris wasn't seen as genuine, and this was an authenticity election. People didn't trust her. They didn't view her as authentic. That was a problem. Yes, true, correct. I don't know about the Destiny Hassan thing, right? But at least on the first bit, people would vote for Bernie, even people who would vote for Trump. One of those reasons, there's a few, but one of those reasons is because they trust him. He is who he is. He's not some caricature. He's not built in a lab. Bernie's Bernie, okay? You know what you're getting. He can't be anything but Bernie, right? No matter how hard you try to make him not Bernie, he's Bernie, okay? People respond to that. People accept that. People graft onto that. No, I get it. I agree. Bring in the last caller. Hello. You're live, buddy.
Yo,
What's up, brother?
Paul Dano. Paul Dano? Do you see it? Is it just me? Paul
Smidge.
Dano. Come on.
Just a
It's
smidge.
total Paul Dano, dude.
Okay,
Total.
okay,
It's meant as a compliment. It actually looks better than I thought it would.
You know, a lot of people say that. I like, look, my preferred facial hair, what I think I look best at, let's say that, is a small beard. Okay, very small. I don't usually have that because it's work to maintain, but it's a small, light growth with some beard, right? Short, right? That's my preferred, what I think I look the best at. But, you know, different people, different tastes. What's up, brother? What can I help you with?
Well, I mostly wanted to say Paul Dano, but I am,
Okay.
we haven't talked since the election.
I know, it's been a bit.
And, look, man, I mean, I'm not really here to gloat, but can you just like summarize quick for me, like your take on what the fuck happened?
Sure, Harris ran a piss poor campaign. She was a piss poor candidate. The people did not buy what she was selling. She refused to take a lane. She tried to be all things to all people. She was seen as inauthentic. Her messaging sucked. She was afraid to take a stance, and she ended up just kind of. They tried to hopes and dreams their way through it, to vibes their way through it, and there was just no substance there. And I think that the voter saw that. So that overall, that combined with the uphill battle of inflation, right? Of just being in a position where the economy, right, just wasn't with you, right? Or at least the perception of the economy just wasn't with you. Those two things combined, there's a lot of missteps, a lot of points of failure. But that's my overall take. What's your thoughts?
Well, I'll give you, but I just one follow-up quick because I saw a tweet you posted and it caught my eye that you felt as though Biden could have won. Do you still stand by
He
that?
would have done better, yes, especially in the Rust Belt, because I know this is anecdotal, but I know people, and they told me at the time, and they reminded me, right? Like, hey, I trust Biden, Scrappy Joe from Scranton, right? I trust him. Okay, I know he's kind of old. I know he's kind of out there, right? But we know who he is. We trust him. He's on our side. We'll go to bat for him. A lot of those people just sat at home after Biden got pushed out. They felt like he was pushed out by people like the elites, and they're like, fuck it, and they just stayed home. Now I don't know if that would have been enough to switch the election, right? But I think he would have done better in Pennsylvania. I think he would have done better in Wisconsin. I think he would have done better in Michigan. Yes.
I mean, okay, like, so my view, at least on Biden, is a little different. I mean, and I was telling my few chatters here, like I spent, the last couple of years sort of arguing with the liberal consensus, and as I've been going back over some of the panels I've been on with you as the host, right? And some of the arguments I made against Biden and against voting for Biden and so on and so forth. And I think really the crux of my argument always has been that, like, the Democrats were doing a very bad job under the Biden administration of recognizing the needs of the average American. And it's not that, they did nothing for working people. I mean, the infrastructure bill, Build Back Better, like there were attempts, but I just don't think it was sufficient enough. And you mentioned inflation, like not all of that is on Biden either, obviously, but it does fall on who's president, right? To some extent, fair or unfair. And I think to me, this election, it really represents like a moment of reckoning for the party. It's like the failure to understand the needs of working people, the failure to understand that,
Oh yeah.
at least in terms of, and I hate the word wokeness, but like the party's embrace of like that kind of approach to politics, identity politics and all that stuff, how it fails, it doesn't
I don't
work with
disagree
working
with any
class
of that.
people.
Yeah. No, you're just correct. The Democrat, and it would be foolish to say otherwise. Looking at the map, the electoral map of who came out and who didn't and why they voted, it's just clear that the Democrats have lost the working class. They've lost them. And we need to figure out how to get them back. Yeah. You're just
Well,
correct
and
there. Yeah. True.
right. And I think that, that was my message. I said something in a debate. It was, Josiah, Hutch, Joe Lewis, me, some other dude, and you. And, I mentioned the fact that, and a lot of you guys took issue with it. I had said that, like, hey, we're all worried about Trump's Project 2025 agenda, right? Which this was before he disavowed it and all that stuff. We're all worried about Trump and this big agenda that he has once he regains power from the executive branch, where they're going to force through all of these, reactionary measures and this conservative agenda and blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, where's the left-wing version of that? And I didn't literally mean like a left-wing Project 2025, but where's the left's great vision for the country and what it should be, and the plan of steps we need to take of how to get there? I don't think that Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, any of these people really have like a vision for the country. Like I don't know. What's your
If
view
they
on that?
did, they failed to communicate it. You are correct, right? I think that like we can communicate it. I think like when you look at progressive policies, people vote for those. They don't vote for progressives, right? They vote for the policies, but they don't vote for the candidate. And you got to figure out why. Why is the candidate electoral poison? And why is the policy something they're like, cool, we'll see, right? And again, we're still going through the data. We're going to see in the weeks and the months to come how things shake out. But I think the real story of this election is twofold. Inflation, 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 right? Kamala Harris failed to convince the American voter that she would be better for the economy than Trump would, okay? That was a failure of messaging, rhetoric, and policy, right? The second thing that we're going to see is this was a failure of the Democrats to appeal to every single base, right? They lost with Latinos. They lost ground with Jews. They lost ground with white working class men. They lost ground with black men. They lost
Black
ground
men.
almost across the board, right? There's only a couple, like I think there's the white women and maybe one other group where they didn't lose any ground, right? And they instead maybe gained a point or two. But overall, they just no one wanted Harris. No one trusted Harris, and no one wanted the Democrats either, because this extended down ticket, right? You saw we're going to lose the House. We're going to lose the Senate. We lost the White House, okay? Obviously, what we tried did not work. And I think that one of the things I'm trying to do today and now is to get Democrats to really internalize that you didn't just lose, you got beat, right? You got shellacked. And until you recognize that actually happened, that it wasn't just any one thing, but it's a whole host of things, you're never going to get better, right? I'll admit when I'm wrong, right? I misread quite a bit in this election. I thought people were going to be turned off by J.D. Vance's hypocrisy. I thought people were going to be a lot more concerned about January 6th than they happened to be. I misread. I always knew it was gonna be like super close, right? But I just misread just how out of touch a lot of Harris's policies proposals were. I got gaslit, as Econoboy said, into seeing some of these policies as game changers, right? No, they were little piddly dink things. So my bad, right? I try not to do that again. But where I think that Biden would have succeeded was not just name recognition, but a lot of people had loyalty to Biden, at least in the Rust Belt. I can't speak for other states like Nevada, New Mexico, etc. But at least in the Rust Belt, people saw him as one of them. And I think that matters in these things. This election, more than any policy, came down to authenticity. Who do you think is a real person? And people didn't think Harris was real.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think with Biden anyway, I mean, you definitely would have seen better numbers in Pennsylvania for sure. Obviously, probably the other Rust Belt states, like you're saying, Michigan, Wisconsin, they would have been in
Keep in
play.
mind,
I mean,
2%. That's what Harris lost this
Yeah.
by. So if it was just a 2% switch, President-elect Harris, right? But it just didn't.
what was astounding to me is the popular vote. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
million, 5
Biden
million
would have
almost.
lost the popular vote. Let's just be clear. But that doesn't matter. We electoral college
Right.
system, baby, right? So
Yeah. I mean, look, it's I don't know. So me, as someone who opposed the Democratic establishment, attacked them from the left, I kind of feel a little vindicated, but I don't actually think it's good that Trump is president or anything like that. I don't think it'll be good for the country or people, the American people. It's going to be horrible for the Middle East. Horrible. But all of that said, I think there's an opportunity in all of this for like us as a left, to what extent we are a whole left wing, to sort of rebuild together, right? You know, like, hey, we can all kind of look objectively at what went wrong and try to figure out an approach that works, you know?
no, we're just gonna call America racist and sexist and misogynist and call it a day, right? What, us do something wrong? No, it's those stupid racist misogynist voters. They're wrong. Okay, that's unfortunately my fear of what's gonna happen, right? That's you're laughing, but there's a non-zero chance that that's what happens. Okay.
I mean, I saw shit on Twitter already. It's like, you know, people in Dearborn saying like, well, don't go to Arab businesses, boycott them,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
stop.
yeah.
It's like, what the fuck are we talking? You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad you're saying what you are, because there are people who are still in denial, man. It's like, like,
Give it a
well, it's
week.
the voters'
I'm
fault.
giving him a week because everyone processes this thing differently. Honestly, man, I thought this was lost when they dumped Biden. So I've come to terms with the loss. I came to terms with the Trump presidency. I'm good, right? Like we've already went through the stages of grief. We're fine.
You're gonna have, like, I'm sure, panels lined up in the near future.
Yes.
I mean, please consider me.
I
I'll ask it
absolutely
now
will
formally.
get your view on things, and I'm sure we'll fight on the margins here about what this new grand plan to win back the working class actually looks like. But thanks for calling in, brother. Thanks for talking, and I'm gonna get to my last caller before I call it a night. Okay.
All right, later, bro.
See you later. Rube.
Hello, can you hear me okay, buddy?
I can. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Do you need some food in there? Do you need
What do we got here? What am I looking at?
I've been trying to reach into the crystal for about, like, it feels like it's been years at this point, and it has been years. We've been fixing the country out here. Are you doing okay? Did they
I
take
am
your
in the
beard before they
crystal.
stuffed you in the
I've
crystal?
seen this meme. I've seen this meme going around. You can't contain the Wick power. You can't crystallize me. I'm uncrystallizable, okay? I'm immune to the crystal, okay? Right?
I know. That's why we had you lead the others into the crystal. This was a total fluke, a total accident that you got stuck in the crystal.
Fair enough. What's up, brother? First
Yeah,
of all,
so-
can I just say, while you're here, turns
Yeah.
out, and I credit where it's due, you had a better read on the democracy vote than I did. Turns out.
Oh, for the democracy being people's chief
Yeah.
concern. Yeah.
Turns out I was wrong, you were right. Credit where it's due. Okay?
It was a little bit of a lucky guess, but yeah, I thought that there was a problem with reading that as being the exclusive domain of Dems, even though the counter argument of, hey, if people are really concerned about voter ID, voter fraud, immigration is probably going to be higher on that list, that seemed fair, but it didn't seem fully accurate because, I mean, the issue of 2020 wasn't really
Yeah,
a matter
you just
of
had a better read than I
immigration.
did on it, and that's fair, right?
Yeah, it's tricky, but hey, are you ready to double down for the next 4 years
Look,
on new
all you
policy?
racists, okay, we know your game. You misogynists who won't vote for a strong black woman. We're just going to ignore you from now on and just go. What we did was great. We ran the best campaign, perfect campaign. We're not going to change a thing. We're just going to have to wag our fingers at you until you're less racist. That's what we're going to do, okay?
Honestly, yes, you should. A little bit. Just not with the same policies, though. I think I brought this up, I think, on election night. I would encourage you guys not to necessarily try to appease the right at this point. The right still has a lot of different policies that they're bad at because they're looking at don't get me wrong, I hate the institutions that the right looks forward to destroying, but the right also propped a lot of those institutions up. And more likely than not, they're still going to maintain some level of power that's destructive to the average American's quality of life. And I think if the left hammers them on those points, the right won't even really have an opportunity to be oppositional. And you would succeed in instituting those policies, like, for instance, putting a leash back on the DEA, maybe not killing every single officer that's like inside the DEA, because that would be wrong and against TOS, but putting a leash back on the agency so that they're no longer ruining the rest of our lives.
Look,
You could do it.
here's the problem. Institutions, the American people have lost trust in them. I think
Mhm.
institutions are good, actually. I don't think destroying them is the way. Reform. I'm a reform guy. I do think that some of
Mhm.
these institutions do need a cleaning of the house, right? I think we need to especially kind of repair a lot of the self goal owns that they've done, right? A lot of the self damage that they've done. And that will make attacks against them less effective. Because
Yeah.
obviously, right, the attacks on institutional candidates and institutions have been effective. So we got to fix that. We got to deal with that new reality. I'm ending the beard poll. But before I do, what's your vote? Beard or no beard? What should you like better?
I gotta be honest with you. It really does take about 20 years off your face. It looks pretty good. It looks
You
pretty
are a
good. I go
beardless is
back and
better.
forth on the beards all the time.
34% of my audience agrees with you. 66% of my audience disagrees. I should have broke it
Oh,
down
well,
by
that's why the
gender,
rest of you are going to the
honestly.
crystals.
Fair enough. That's at least with 133 votes. Beard better has 66%, and beardless is better has only 33%. So it looks like the beard's coming back, boys. But either
Who would
maybe
you stuff in the crystal?
who would
Okay.
I stuff in the crystal? Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, there's
because
a lot of
you have
people.
to clean house.
Sure.
You're still a reform puck,
Hassan's
and you
going
think
in the
that these
crystal, boys. We're
institutions
shoving him
are
in,
evil.
okay? Shoving him
No,
in.
seriously. Who do you boot out of the party because you want to focus on
I'll tell
policy
you.
this next election
Look, I'm
cycle?
telling you what this is I'm not kidding. People think I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. This is a winning
Mhm.
message for Democrats. Go on Hassan's show. Call him an anti-Semite. Call him an anti-American. Call him a bad person. Make him cry.
Okay.
Do this. Millions of views. Millions, like 40, 50 million views, okay? And you win over the electorate, okay? You position yourself as the anti-extremist. And boy, oh boy, do you get the vote, okay? You bring people out. Everyone wants to see extremists get knocked down a peg or two, okay? Everyone wants to see
Well,
it.
which extremist, though? Are you sure about that? I
Yes,
don't think
I
that
am.
I don't think the American public has been getting more
Biden was
fond
seen as a
of
moderate candidate, and
Israel.
that was one of the reasons he won in 2020.
Okay.
2022, extremists lost. Democrats were seen as the moderates. But after October 7th, and with the way that the left has handled the Israel-Palestine, the extreme leftists, all that, right? The college protests, right? All that. Right or wrong, the perception was that Democrats were cozying up to those people, they were coddling those people, right?
Do you think like the
That hurt
ADL
us.
segment or faction sort of like reduced and just didn't show up these years
Uh,
for this past election?
I hesitate to make any large claims, but yes, I think that a lot of the moderates, centrists, just stayed home.
Mhm.
That's why there's significantly less votes overall. They just stayed home. They're just like, I can't
Well,
vote
that
for
and no
either of these.
ballot harvesting this time around. There were about 20 million fewer votes. Some of those I'm sure were real. Some of them I assure were living people.
Yeah, well, is what it
Do you
is.
think that's going to be? How big of a fight do you think that's going to be these next 4 years? Do you want to like hit them over? Do you want to hit Republicans over the head with like, well, why don't you think that this election was fake? Or like, what do you think of
I
that
think
rhetoric
that we're
right
gonna.
now?
I think that like people are going to remember the difference, but I don't think that should be a big push. I think that what we should do is, like I said, position ourselves as the anti-extremists. We weren't able to. Harris was not able to do that because of her 2019 views, her 2020 run, primary. People just didn't believe her. I read this article by Tracing Woodworks. What's his name? Right? I think that's his name.
Yes.
Do you remember him?
It's Tracy Woodworks on Twitter.
Yes.
Was this his recent Substack or?
No, it's just a post he made. I can link it to you. But again, Tracing Woodgrain. Sorry, that's his name.
Woodgrain.
Like, people call me a centrist. Leftists call me a centrist, and as soon as anyone calls me a centrist, I know not to listen to them because they don't know what they're talking about, right? They have no idea what they're talking about. They are unable to appeal to centrists, and so a lot of leftists thought Kamala Harris was appealing to centrists because she was aiming at more of the people like me and some of her policies and things. That wasn't centrist, okay? That wasn't centrist. On these polls, I would be counted as very liberal, okay?
Yeah.
So the actual centrists, so what Kamala ended up doing was people who thought I was a centrist crafted a message to appeal to centrists, but it didn't appeal to centrists because I'm not a centrist. And so, again, Tracing Woodgrains writes this, and I'll just give you this one quote. There's a few paragraphs to this, but this one quote's very powerful. There is not a single moment this election that I felt heard or represented by Kamala Harris. Not one. So, again, if your goal was to appeal to centrists, you failed. Fundamentally.
You think they forgot the definition of appeal? Like, I hate white men less, or I'm trying to appeal to somebody who hates white men slightly less. It's like, guys, that's not the.
There was not one single
moment,
and this is what she needed. She needed one, maybe two of these moments. Not one single moment where she said, hey, stop calling white people racist. Hey, stop saying men are a problem. Hey, stop this. Stop it.
I don't think that she needed to do that.
I do.
I don't think that would have helped.
She absolutely needed to do that, and it would have flipped.
What would be the point? We knew that she
would. It would have flipped Pennsylvania. It would have flipped Wisconsin. It would have flipped Michigan.
Nobody is going to flip Pennsylvania. Nobody's going to be less tired of living with homeless people in Pennsylvania because Kamala Harris lied about how upset she is that white men are being made fun of. This is what I'm talking about.
What they wanted from her was to see her just once stand up to the extremists in her party because they were worried about the extreme policies pushed by the far left. They were told that Kamala Harris is a communist.
We're worried about her policies, man. We're worried about our quality of life. Her policies are fucking insane. And whether they're all going to be bad for white men generally, all you have to do is put forward a few policy propositions that are going to disproportionately, or not even disproportionately, just like not harm us. Again, going back to drugs, and I don't mean like drug legalization, though I am in favor of that, free cocaine for everybody. Like, what I'm talking about is like the interference of government agencies in just basic health care, preventing us from accessing basic health care for no fucking reason whatsoever. Perhaps she's a massive whore, legalized prostitution. If she ran on the policy, I love whores personally. If she ran on the platform of we're going to
I
legalize
don't think you're the
prostitution,
type of person that we're gonna. Didn't you also say you don't vote?
I said I don't vote several months ago. You
Okay.
convinced me otherwise, remember?
Did you vote this election?
I did.
Oh, good. But you didn't vote for the right candidate, and I'm going to scold you for it. No,
I
you're
did
fine.
I voted for the candidate who is in my interest and doesn't hate me.
That's the key. That's the
Of
key.
which there were
Doesn't
many.
hate me, right? So again, Kamala failed to convince a lot of the centrists and a lot of the kind of public that she doesn't hate white men.
That's not going to be enough, man. It's not even necessary. If I think that she hates me, but she's going to legalize prostitution, it doesn't matter. Because the prostitute can hate me, but if she's taking my money, then I'm still happy. You get the idea here? That you're a class of prostitutes who have stopped putting out, and that's why you're going back into crystal?
That we're a class of prostitutes that have stopped. Look, you know what? I'm gonna let that slide because someone did buy me. I feel like a cam girl. Someone bought me a hoodie, right? And now they're paying me money to shave my face, to do a little on-stream shave for them, right? I'm getting like some serious bucks because of my looks. And you know what? I'll take it. I'll take that money every day. Come on.
You've stepped up, and that's why you get a break from the crystal.
A break from the crystal. Thank you.
Once every 100 years.
Hate to cut this shirt, but it is 8:39. I do have to go. I want to tell to my audience, it is Thursday. I don't know if I'm streaming tomorrow or not, but thank you for sticking with me. If you like this content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I do have a couple of super chats to read. Let's read those. This is from Carle Fontes, $5. There's no Wick without a beard. Now you are death of certainty. Oh, that's old school. Okay, this viewer's been with me for a while. For those of you who don't know, my channel name used to be, back in the day, Death of Certainty, which was a great name, by the way. So yeah, that's an old cut. That's some old lore. Okay, that's some D&D first edition lore right there from the Wick family.
Okay.
But anyway, we're gonna end it. We're gonna see you guys. If not tomorrow, we'll see you Monday. Oh boy, we got a lot of talking to do. We got a lot of stuff to cover. Stay safe, stay good. I'll see you guys later. Bye.